This was to have been a day of liberty for the Mets, but a rain out earlier in the week keeps the Phillies in town for an extra day as they start their uphill climb over the final 2 weeks, trying for a playoff berth. Ryan Howard played hero last night, and tonight, Charlie Manuel and the Phils go for the sweep of the Mets at Citi Field. At Citi Field in New York, the New York Mets play the Philadelphia Phillies. Thursday night baseball on SNY is presented by Citi. Have a pleasant good evening, everybody, and welcome to Citi Field. Gary Cohen, Ron Darling with you tonight as the Mets close out their series with the Phillies. It's been a very unsuccessful second half for the Mets, but the bright spot in the second half has been the performance of Matt Harvey, who made his final start last night. And boy, did he finish his freshman year in style.
Well, his 10th start, it's really important when a young pitcher comes up is that you really try not to make judgment right away. You want to give the young man a break. But over a 10-start period, I think that he has exceeded all the expectations that I had for him. I thought we were going to see a guy come up and throw 93. He throws 97 to 98. I thought we were going to have a guy that throws kind of a 12 to 6 curveball. We got a guy with a razor blade slider, a curveball, and changeup. And you can see all those numbers. Just excellent. His one loss isn't excellent, but you know the team's 16 games under 500.
2.73 ERA, nothing to sneeze at. Now, last night, Terry Collins tried to get Josh Edge in his first big league save, and in the development of a young relief pitcher, we talk about lessons learned. So what did Josh Edge take out of last night?
Well, I think you want a young relief pitcher to have the maturation, to be able to throw the pitches that are necessary really to get hitters out. And when we saw Edgin pitch in last night's game, he got that nice slider over to Ryan Howard at first, and then after that, of course, made the mistake. He called it a meatball. But I think even more importantly, as you move forward, you have to learn from those kind of mistakes, and he has to realize that, you know, Utley and Howard are guys that he's going to have to get out in the next upcoming years if he's going to be effective as a reliever. But just like Harvey, to me, Edgin has just done an outstanding job all summer coming up and showing that he belongs in the major leagues.
Now everybody's trying to prove they belong right about this time of year for the Mets, and Jeremy Hefner would like to have a role on this team in 2013. He gets a start tonight.
Well, he talked about Harvey with 10 starts. Another rookie, Hefner, has had 10 starts also. They've been uneven. Only 5 of the 10 he's given up 3 earned runs or less. But he's going to try to prove he's been great with his control, but the home run ball has been a problem.
And likewise for the Phillies, they'll throw a rookie, Tyler Cloyd, who made his big league debut against the Mets last month.
Well, the Mets saw him once. They saw a lot of cut fastballs from Tyler Cloyd, but we're talking about a guy who was the most valuable pitcher in the International League. He had 12 wins and had an outstanding year.
So the Mets and Phils wrap up this 3-game series. Mets trying to get off this home losing streak. All the action coming your way tonight on SNY. By your Tri-State Kia retailers, visit TriStateKiaDealers.com today. By Geico, by Cadillac, and by Looper in theaters September 28th. Kids go free to Citi Field with the purchase of regularly priced tickets. Kids 12 and under will get free admission to Mets games in September. Call 718-507-TIXX or get to Mets.com/kidsfree for tickets. Here's your drive around the majors presented by Kia. The Cardinals finish a sweep of the Astros, getting a 3-run homer from Alvin Craig. So the Cardinals, for the moment, up 2.5 games in the race for the second wild card spot. The A's avoid getting swept by the Tigers as they get a homer and 4 RBIs from Seth Smith to win 12-4. And Johnny Cueto's 6 scoreless innings for the Reds. They beat the Cubs this afternoon 5-3. Cincinnati becomes the first team in the major leagues to clinch a postseason berth. Jeremy Hefner getting ready for his 11th major league start as he takes on the Phillies tonight, the team he beat for his first big league win. First pitch coming right up. Faced the Phillies this year.
Well, he was outstanding. He was able to spot his fastball not only up here on Pence, but also inside. I think that's going to be one of the keys against right-handed hitters for Hefner tonight. And then also showed a good changeup against the right-handed hitters and showed he could hit a little bit also off Joe Blanton with his first home run, first RBI, and only hit of the year.
You know, it's very interesting watching that video. We highlighted a whole bunch of Phillies who aren't here anymore.
That's right.
There's the Hyundai Phillies starting lineup tonight. Jimmy Rollins has homered in each of the first 2 games of this series, and Ryan Howard, who snapped a long home run drought with his game winner last night, highlighting a Phillies lineup that's without Carlos Ruiz for the first time in the series as Eric Kratz gets the start behind the plate.
Well, you know that Hefner was sent in the bullpen when Henry Mejia was put in the rotation. You can see his stats presented by Caesars Atlantic City. Hasn't started a game in 11 days. His last start against the Braves, he struggled, giving up 5 earned runs.
Jimmy Rollins will lead things off for the Phillies. Rollins 2 for 6 in this series. He led off the game last night with a home run. 6th time this year he had a home run leading off the game. 22 for the year now for Jimmy. And Hefner's first pitch of the night is in for a call strike. Hefner making his 11th start, his 24th appearance overall. And when you look at the Mets makeup for next year and their starting rotation, there will probably be no room at the end for a guy like Jeremy Hefner, at least in the first 5. A little flare to the left side. David Wright back, and it lands for a base hit for Rollins. I had visions of David trying to make that barehanded catch that he made in San Diego a few years ago. A little bit too far out for him to try.
Well, because Rollins at the plate, and no chance for David to make this. Just another example that whatever leaves the bat of Rollins is usually a hit here at Citi Field.
Well, he's hitting right around 400 over the last 2 years here at Citi Field. Now Juan Pierre, and we'll see if the Phillies play for a run early, because Pierre has more sacrifice bunts than any position player in the majors this year. He's got 14 of them. Rollins with 30 steals on the year gets a nice comfortable lead. And Pierre takes inside for ball 1. Anyway, the Mets this year went to spring training really with no backup plan beyond their 5 starters. Next year they will have a lot more depth going into spring training, and Jeremy Hefner will be one of those guys you would have to think who will be on call as the 6th, 7th, 8th starter, or maybe a long man in the bullpen.
Well, I think that's where he's going to have to fight for his position as the long man. But, you know, the one thing you know is that he's a guy that you can count on if you had to call him up from the minor leagues to make starts for you and throw strikes.
And Pierre lays down a beauty, and David Wright has no play. It's a bunt hit for Juan Pierre. He's been the best bunter in baseball for a long time, and he deadened a gorgeous bunt that time.
You know, we always talk about infield defense and where people play. When you have Pierre up there, you have to take the bunt away, because he will always try to sacrifice but also get a base hit out of it in there and surprise the Mets.
Juan Pierre has had a ritual over the course of his career. When he comes into a new ballpark, he will come out 4, 5, 6 hours before the game and roll balls up each line, up the first base line and up the third base line, to see how the ball is breaking.
Well, he deadened that as good as you can. It had a little almost backspin on it, and no play for David.
So Chase Utley with an early opportunity, 1st and 2nd and nobody out. Utley 2 for 6 in this series. Drew the walk in front of Howard's game-winning home run in the 9th inning last night. And he takes the fastball low and in for ball 1. Utley at .256 for the year, 10 home runs in what has amounted to half a season for Utley, coming back from a knee injury. That's Ryan Sandberg.
Wow.
AAA manager for the Phillies this year, Hall of Famer.
See the Mets infield defense. David Wright just telling Chase Utley, you want to bunt for a hit? Go ahead.
Yeah, he's not going to do that. 2-0 now to Utley.
Bases loaded in the 1st inning with Howard up against the Mets has been good once before.
The Phillies in a situation where they've got to win virtually every day to have any hope. Cardinals won today, so the Phillies would need to win to stay 4 games back in that wild card race. And after today, they'll have just 12 games remaining. Rollins very close to the bag. Turner getting the start at shortstop today, giving Ruben Tejada a day off. Just the 8th time that Turner started at short this year. Now Hefner behind on the count, 2-0. And Utley lines one into center field. That'll fall for a base hit. Rollins heads home. Baxter makes the throw to the plate. Can't be cut off. Rollins is in. All the way to third goes Pierre. 3 straight hits for the Phillies to start the night. 1-0 Philadelphia.
If you're a base runner and you look at the outfielders and you identify where they are, and then you hear the sound of the ball off the bat, almost breaking the bat of Chase Utley, easy read for Jimmy Rollins. This ball ran in on him a little bit, got it on the trademark, and Rollins read it straight away and able to score on this throw by Baxter. See, like Davis just got a little bit of the leather on that throw, but look at that read. Knew right away, did not have to look over his shoulder, identify where the ball was going. Great base running by Jimmy.
Mike Baxter getting his first start in center field for the Mets and immediately tested. So 1-0 Phillies, and now here's Howard. Ryan Howard broke out of a 67 at-bat home run drought last night with his 9th inning game winner off Josh Edgin. Howard at .225 for the year, 11 home runs. And he takes a strike from Hefner.
You see the defense, Alexis defense behind Hefner, Duda, Baxter in center field, Lewis in right for a start this year, right, Turner, Murphy, and Davis. As Gary said, the 8th start for Turner and Shopik again behind the plate.
So a little different look in the outfield for the Mets tonight as Howard takes low and away.
We said 67 at bats without a home run. That was 0 for 19 against left-handers before that hit right there, and it was a bomb to right field.
I asked Terry Collins what lesson Edgin might learn from giving up that home run. He said, well, a couple of things. He said, first of all, the pitch was supposed to be away, and if you're going to miss, you have to miss away, not out over the plate. The other thing he said is that the previous fastball Josh had thrown was 97. That one was 93.
So maybe he aimed it a little bit, trying to throw it to a spot. In that position, go with your good stuff, let it go.
Thing about Edgin is he's not going to have much of a chance this year to put that into practice because the Mets have said that he's going to get just one more appearance before they shut him down.
You know, it's a little bit like his first experience, his first game in the majors against the Braves. Got the first 2 hitters out, and then Chipper Jones took him deep. He looked very strong against the first 2 hitters, but the walk to Utley hurt him.
Mets have the full shift on here now with 2 strikes. Pierre can get as much of a lead as he wants from third. David Wright is about 80 feet away. I mean, if Pierre wanted to steal home, he could do it fairly easily, couldn't he?
I mean, he's as far as you want to go.
Juan Samuel, the third base coach, talking to Pierre about it, I'm sure. Look how far down the line. Only problem is if you try to steal home, you take the bat out of Howard's hands with 2 strikes.
Yeah, you got to let the big fella hit.
Inside pitch on Jeremy Hefner, brought to you by the Xerox Business of Baseball. Xerox, ready for real business.
I always think the key for Jeremy is just to keep his pitches down. He's got more life for them. Pitch inside effectively. He's going to have to do that against both the right-handed and the left-handers. And Ryan Howard, when he hits a home run, sometimes he gets on a roll. Got to neutralize Ryan. He's the kind of guy that'll hit 12, 14 home runs in a month.
John Mayberry hitting 5th in the order, waiting on deck. Well, it certainly hasn't been the season that Howard would have hoped for. Didn't come back till after the 1st of July, coming back from the Achilles injury, and he has struggled for a large swath of the season. 8th pitch of the at bat on the way, and Howard drives that one into right field. That'll fall for a base hit. That'll bring Pierre in with the 2nd run of the inning. So 4 straight hits for the Phillies to start the night. Howard with his 49th RBI, and it's 2-0 Philadelphia.
That's 39 RBI in his last 40 games for Ryan Howard since August 6th. He saw every pitch that Hefner had, a little backdoor cutter there that he covers, gets it off the end of the bat, but he's so strong, knocks it into right field to Lewis.
So this start is beginning for Jeremy Hefner the way his last one ended. That was 12 days ago against the Braves. He got knocked out in the 3rd inning. Gave up 5 runs and 8 hits in that start. Just looking for an out at this point as he takes on John Mayberry, who's 1 for 7 in the series. And Mayberry takes a fastball for a strike. Mayberry's been a fixture in center field since the trade of Shane Victorino to the Dodgers. Going to be interesting to see what the Phillies do next year as far as center field is concerned. And Mayberry bangs one off his leg, a foul ball, 0-2. I mean, do you see John Mayberry as an everyday center fielder?
No. I think that you know, he's a guy that maybe you'd platoon
at one of the corner outfield positions.
Dominic Brown waits on deck.
I think he's a capable outfielder, but they've been blessed with a Gold Glove outfielder before they traded Victorino.
And of course, before Victorino, they had Michael Bourne. They basically decided between the two of them and traded Bourne away. Of course, he's a free agent at the end of the year, so maybe he ends up back in Philadelphia.
Right.
Or, for that matter, maybe Victorino winds up back in Philadelphia.
Well, I think when you have your big three of Halladay, Lee, and Hamels, you have to really concentrate on having at least a good center fielder, good outfield defense.
It's kind of like the Braves for all those years with Andrew Jones playing behind Glavine, Smoltz, and Maddox. Breaking ball from Hefner misses, and it's 2-2 to Mayberry. Cole Hamels, who pitched well to a no decision last night. And Mayberry bounces one foul, skips by Juan Samuel. Sammy was always more of an offensive threat.
Boy, he was, wasn't he?
He had a year in '87 with the Phillies where he just tore it up.
80 extra base hits.
That's what the Mets were thinking about when they made the trade in '89.
Yeah.
He didn't have that quite left in him. .21 pitches deep in this opening inning, and Hefner is still searching for his first out. Again, the 2-2, and that's hit in the air to right center. Coming on fast is Lewis, but he can't get there, and it falls for another base hit. The throw to second a little too late to try and force Howard, and the bases are loaded. 5 straight Philadelphia hits to start the night.
Well, this is another one off the end of the bat, but this ball is up in the strike zone, so Mayberry able to just dunk it into right center field. Before the game, we thought maybe Lewis would play center field, but they have Baxter in center and Lewis in right field.
That was the way they announced the lineup at first, that Lewis was playing center. So Dan Warthen out for a visit with Hefner, trying to calm things down. The Phillies with 2 runs home in the opening inning, bases loaded, nobody out, and Dominic Brown coming up.
It's difficult as a pitching coach. What are you going to say? I mean, the pitcher knows that he's under the gun here, but always want to be positive. Say to him, hey, listen, you're a ground ball pitcher. Let's get a ground ball and a double play.
Brown is 2 for 7 in this series, had a triple and a home run against R.A. Dickey on Monday night. By the way, Dickey's start has been moved up. He was supposed to pitch on Sunday against Miami, but he's going to pitch Saturday instead. And there's a pretty good reason for that. That's at the infield in at the corners, back at second and short, as Brown takes outside for ball 1. Dickey's going to go Saturday, and the reason that they're going to do that is so that R.A. can pitch the final home game of the year on Thursday against the Pirates, and then he'll have one more start after that.
Also, that one more start getting in Miami will be in a controlled environment for R.A.
Well, the other thing that does, he was going to pitch the first game in the series in Atlanta, and if there's one place that Dickey has not fared well this year, it has been at Turner Field. He had that rain-soaked game back in April, but he also had another game where he got beat up pretty badly. Anything the Mets can do to try and get him to 20 wins. Line drive, 6 hits in a row for the Phillies. In to score comes Utley. Howard will move up a base to third. 3-0 Philadelphia, and the bases remain loaded with nobody out. And warm-up action has begun in the Mets bullpen as Hefner is just unable to secure an out. Brown with maybe the hardest hit ball of the inning.
Well, trying to sink this ball away, gets it not completely down, and we've seen that Dominic Brown is a good down fastball hitter, and that was the hardest ball hit in this inning.
So the carousel continues for the Phillies. Now the number 7 hitter, Kevin Franzen. Franzen 0 for 5 in this series. Was taken over as the everyday third baseman for the Phils over the last month or so. Bases loaded, nobody out. And that one misses wide for ball one. So Hefner has been unable to throw strike one in this inning, which has hurt. Howard, Mayberry, and Brown, the base runners. And Franzen takes a fastball strike, 1-1. What does this feel like, Ronnie?
Well, I've been there. You know, I've had some starts that last an inning or two, and you just feel like you're in quicksand. Every pitch you try to throw, as you see Colin McHugh up, just misses the corner. They hit some dunkers, they hit some BBs. You can't control your breaking ball, and you feel like you're out there naked without any weapons.
By the way, if you're wondering, the major league record for most consecutive hits to start a game is 8. Hefner's given up 6 straight to begin this game. And Franzen takes it low, and now Hefner, with the bases loaded, falls behind 3-1. Jeremy has walked very few this year, just 14 walks in 79 innings. And in a spot where he has to throw a strike now with Eric Kratz waiting on deck. Now on 3-1, Franzen takes it outside, ball 4, and that forces in the 4th run of the inning. Howard comes in to score. 7 batters, no outs, 4-0 Philadelphia. And that's going to be all for Jeremy Hefner. So Hefner has a rare start in that he does not retire a single batter. Faces 7, gives up 6 hits and a walk, and he will take his exit, and Colin McHugh will come on in very long relief. Call to the bullpen brought to you by Verizon Wireless. Win Mets memorabilia from Verizon at Mets.com/Verizon Sweeps. 4-0 Phillies. We'll be right back. He faces 7 batters, gives up 6 hits and a walk, and now has to watch the rest of the game forlorn.
Yeah, there's really nothing that anyone, any teammate, any coach, anyone can say when you have something happen to you like that. And Colin McHugh, it's up to him to try to get out of this mess.
Second relief outing for McHugh. Last pitch Saturday night in Milwaukee. His first relief appearance after making 3 starts. He'll face the number 8 hitter Eric Kratz with the bases loaded and nobody out, and 4 runs already in for the Phils. Kratz at 254 for the year, 9 home runs and only 130 at bats, so he has significant power. And that one breaks off Shopik's mitt, but not far away for Mayberry to make a move. Well, the last Mets starting pitcher to fail to retire a batter was John Maine. That was 2 years ago when he threw 5 pitches in Washington and was pulled because his shoulder was bothering him. We'll have to go back further and find the last time a Met pitcher didn't get it out strictly because of performance. And Kratz grounds one foul, a ball and a strike. Kratz, a career minor leaguer, getting a shot this year. Brian Schneider's been on the disabled list for a long time, and so Kratz getting an opportunity as the backup to Carlos Ruiz. Tyler Cloyd feeling like he wound up in the right spot at the right time today. Anytime you have a chance to get a turn at bat before you take the mound, that's a good day. And the curveball for McHugh, line foul. 1-2. Well, McHugh was very impressive in his first start. Struck out 9 batters in 7 scoreless innings. Struggled in his next 2 starts. The plan is to get him another start before the end of the season. But here being asked to pitch in an unfamiliar role and very long relief. And Kratz is hit by the pitch, and that forces in another run. Can you believe this? 6 straight hits, a bases loaded walk, and now a bases loaded hit batsman. 5-0 Philadelphia before an out is recorded.
Well, Colin has a habit when he tries to go inside that he kind of throws it from the side. You won't see him get on top of the baseball. Therefore, it's going to run inside and hits Kratz. That carom then caught the hand of Shopik.
To add injury to insult. So the bases remain loaded. Still nobody out, and now the pitcher Cloyd.
I've seen a lot of games. I haven't seen one start like this ever. I mean, ever.
See Cloyd's numbers as a hitter, 1 for 6 in his brief big league career. Ball and a strike. Well, if you're Tyler Cloyd and you warmed up in the bullpen about, I don't know, half an hour ago, how do you get yourself ready for the bottom of the first?
That's a difficult question. I think that sometimes it's hard.
Back to McHugh, gets the out at the plate. Shopik's thrown to first in time for the 1-2-3 double play. The first 2 outs of the night.
Well, sometimes you say to yourself, thank God there isn't a DH rule in the National League. You get a couple of outs with a pitcher.
So with 5 runs home, now 2 outs and 2 in scoring position. And Jimmy Rollins, who began this whole thing with a little flare over David Wright's head into left field. You know, you look at the 6 hits that Jeremy Hefner gave up. Utley's was hit fairly hard, and Brown's was hit very hard. The other 4, a bunt and a few bloops. But that doesn't change the fact. Franzen now at third and Kratz at second with 2 out.
Well, sometimes young pitchers look like Matt Harvey did last night, and sometimes young pitchers just look young.
Jeremy Hefner struggled. Colin McHugh trying for better. And the curveball is down to Rollins, 2-1. Colin McHugh, 25 years old, out of Berry College near Atlanta. 18th round pick by the Mets back in 2008. Had a nice year in the minors this year, split between AA and AAA. And he really burst on the scene in that first start of his career. But it's been a struggle for him since. 2-1.
And Rollins fouls off the fastball, and it's 2-2. McHugh has often been compared to Dylan G as a guy who needs to be precise, doesn't throw particularly hard. I saw Dylan in the clubhouse today. He's a slimmed down Dylan G. Looks like he's lost about 15 pounds. Going to throw another bullpen session next week and then shut it down for the year. Coming back from the blood clot in his arm. Past the mound toward the middle, and a base hit for Rollins, his second of the inning. Franzen and Kratz will both score, and it's 7-0 Philadelphia.
Well, Murphy playing Rollins to pull, but no one's going to get this ball. Jimmy just going straight back up through the box. He is red hot in September, and 2 more runs.
Well, the book is now closed on Jeremy Hefner. 0 innings, 6 runs, 6 hits, and a walk. The 7th run charged to McHugh. Now Juan Pierre, who had a bunt single his first time up. .43 pitches in this inning. Hefner threw 30. McHugh is still trying to put the inning to bed. Pierre, the 11th man up. And Colin falls behind him 2-0.
Last time I saw a game like this, Gary, it was in 1985 against these Phillies team at the Veterans Stadium. And the game ended up 26-7 that night, I believe.
Joe Sambito gave up about 100 runs in that game.
Right. Tom Gorman started the game. He was putting the tape on his bat. We used to call him Gorfax because he always talked a great game. And he said he was the best hitter from his college, never got an at bat, gave up 6 runs. And then Calvin Schiraldi gave up 10, and 10 more for Joe Sambito.
There's a strike to Pierre. Well, this is not yet, anyway, the worst first inning the Mets have ever suffered. 1988 in Cincinnati. Mets gave up a 10-run first inning.
I know about that game very well. 2/3 of an inning, 10 runs, 6 earned maybe. Straw dropped the pop-up. I'll never forget that.
So you gave up all 10 of those first inning runs?
Gave up all the 10 runs, got taken out, got on the exercise bike, and rode the bike for 2 hours and 40 minutes until the game was done.
You rode the exercise bike so far it started to move.
That's right. Another embarrassing chapter.
3-2 now to Pierre as Rollins runs, and Pierre dumps one into shallow left for yet another base hit. This is mind-boggling. 8 hits in the inning. Pierre is now 2 for 2. And what's a manager to do?
Oh, he is red hot. I'm telling you that.
Team has gone 15 straight home games without scoring more than 3 runs, and you've already had a 7 spot put up against you in the first inning. A makeup game, a sparse crowd, negative atmosphere in so many ways, but the Phillies have come out storming.
I think Terry's a little hot. He doesn't want anyone hanging their heads, clapping his hands together. Let's go.
Utley delivered the first run with a single to center field. And the first pitch curve in for a strike. McHugh about to deliver the 50th pitch of this top of the first. And Utley takes a strike, and for the first time in the inning, it's 0-2.
Houston, we have a problem. I've already got the runs and hits wrong in my scorecard.
I have white out if you need it. Tyler Cloyd celebrating his good luck. Seriously, though, it's now 7:40. It's 40 minutes since Tyler Cloyd completed his warm-up pitches. How do you get warm in 8 pitches?
I personally would have walked around if it, it's 2 outs now, so there's nowhere to go. But let's say there was 0 outs. I would have walked around and got back in that bullpen and just played catch. Or they have the cages underneath that you can just go in there and play a little catch if you had to. guess he's confident that he can get 15 outs and not give up 8 runs.
See how it goes.
Could be one of those nights.
You never know. By the way, speaking of one of those nights, you following this game in Pittsburgh this afternoon? Milwaukee had a 4-0 lead, fell behind 7-4. They just scored 4 in the 8th to go in front 8-7 on the Pirates as Utley delivers another base hit. Here comes Rollins to score the 8th run of the inning, and the carnage continues. Utley now 2 for 2, his second RBI of the inning, and it's 8-0 Philadelphia. And Ronnie's record is in jeopardy.
I don't think I've ever seen a team break it down and not go first to third in the first inning already. It's almost like a mercy rule. Rollins scores here, dumped into left field in front of Duda, and Pierre just went from first to second.
Can you see the steam?
Oh, man. That's you don't even want to walk down that portal into the dugout. You got to go to the other side.
So now it's Howard who delivered a base hit his first time up to drive in a run. 8 runs on 9 hits, and it's not over yet. And a fastball strike to Howard. And McHugh tries to run one inside and misses. A ball and a strike. 55 pitches deep into this top of the first inning. Pierre's at second. Utley's at first with 2 out. 11 of the 12 batters have reached base. The only one who didn't was the pitcher Cloyd, who hit into a double play. No matter for the Phillies. And the curveball inside, 2-1. By the way, in that 10-run inning in 1988 in Cincinnati, you gave up only 9.
Oh, only 9?
5 of them earned.
Okay. Boy, feel much better now.
Hefner gave up 6. McHugh so far charged with 2. And now it's 2-2 to Howard.
I mean, I won 17 games that year. It's not like I was a lamb, but they just took it to me that night.
Well, the Reds could hit.
They're a pretty good team, but not 9 in the first good. Come on.
It was a good hitter's ballpark, Riverfront.
Yeah, it was.
Not as good as the new place. McHugh trying to find that magic pitch to end this nightmare. And just missed, and now a full count to Howard. Runners get set to go. 3-2 to Howard. Ground ball, and in the shift, Turner's there to play it. And the side is finally retired. The Phillies send 13 men to the plate in the top of the first inning against Hefner and McHugh, and they throw up a crazy 8. Well, Tyler Cloyd sitting in the catbird seat. An 8-0 lead as he takes the mound and throws a strike to Fred Lewis, who makes his first start for the Mets. As you look at the Geico starting lineup, Mike Baxter, his first start in center field. Justin Turner getting the start at shortstop. Lewis, the former Giant, Red, and Blue Jay, takes a strike, and it's 0-2.
Well, Cloyd's record is even. We were talking about his start against the Mets. It was his first start in the major league. You see his stats presented by Toyota. He's given up more home runs than base on balls.
4 homers, 3 base on balls. His last start against Houston Thursday last week, he lasted just 3 innings and allowed 3 runs and 5 hits. Fred Lewis was Buffalo's MVP this year. Hit .294, a .379 on base percentage, 13 homers, 25 stolen bases. And he takes inside. You know, I was looking at the stats today. Lewis was a guy who started for about 2.5 years with San Francisco and Toronto. Was a reserve player in Cincinnati last year. His on-base percentage for his big league career, .344. Not too bad.
No, good.
About 20 or so points better than Andres Torres. And you wonder what happened to a guy like Lewis, who was in spring training with the Indians this year, got released, signed by the Mets a few weeks later, and had a nice year in AAA.
You know, I think it's difficult for these young players that I think were considered phenoms at some point. Fred Lewis was.
And there's ball 4, so Lewis is on with a leadoff walk after Cloyd took the mound with an 8-0 lead. And you really wonder about the time that Cloyd spent between his pregame warm-up and taking the mound.
Except he threw the first 2 pitches for strikes. He was 0-2 and then threw 4 straight balls.
So now Daniel Murphy is 2 for 8 in this series. Murphy still aspiring to hit 300 for the year. He's at .294. Mets will have a dozen games to go after today. And he takes a cutter for a strike. Murphy with 37 doubles. That's 6th in the National League. David Wright, who hit his 18th home run last night, waiting on deck.
Murph had 38 doubles in 2010, so 1 away with his career high.
It's been a good September with the bat for Murphy, hitting .370 this month. Trying to finish strong in his first full year as a second baseman. And he grounds a double play ball to Utley. Rollins with the easy turn for the 4-6-3 double play. 2 out and nobody on.
Well, behind Mr. Cloyd today, the Coors Light Phillies defense. Juan Pierre in left field, Mayberry in center, Dominic Brown in right. See, Franson has played most of the time at third in the second half. Rollins, Utley, Howard at first base, and Eric Kratz behind the plate. 505 errors since 2007. Shows you something, but their defense is not the same as it once was.
No, certainly not. I mean, Utley is not the same player he used to be. And they don't have the outfield defense that they had with Victorino. Here's David Wright poking one the other way, and he's got himself a base hit. Career hit number 1414 for David, now just 4 behind Ed Kranepool's franchise record. That'll get Ike Davis to the plate with 2 out. Ike 2 for 5 in the series, including an infield hit last night. That game in Pittsburgh has gone to the 9th inning. Milwaukee 8, Pittsburgh 7. Back and forth all day long. If the Pirates lose that game, they will fall under 500. They were as many as 16 games over 500. Appeared a lock to break their 19-year streak of losing records. Not a lock anymore. Last night the Phillies passed by the Pirates in that crowded National League wildcard race. Cardinals won this afternoon, so that actually should be 2.5 over the Dodgers. And Davis lays off. 2 balls and a strike. Cardinals have now won 4 straight, putting the pressure on everybody else behind them.
Well, they did what the Philadelphia Phillies couldn't do, and that is sweep the Houston Astros.
They had Lance Lynn come back and make a nice start last night, which was big for them. Lynn had the huge first half for them, went to the All-Star game, and then got shipped to the bullpen. Now Cloyd behind on Davis, 3-1. Tyler Cloyd, 25 years old, 18th round pick in 2008, which makes him a clone of Colin McHugh. There's a call strike, 3-2.
That's right.
Both taken in the same round of the same draft. And they're the up-to-date standings with the Cardinals' victory this afternoon. Phillies with a tough schedule coming down the stretch after they leave here. Right runs, Davis fouls it off. Again, the 3-2, and Davis pulls one into the shift. Utley right there to play it. Howard gets back to the bag, and that retires the side. A hit, a walk, and one left after one. 8-0 Phillies. Every Mets game on Sports Radio 66 WFAN, except for tonight. Weekend series against the Marlins starting tomorrow night with John Neese against Jacob Turner. R.A. Dickey makes the start Saturday. That's a change. He was originally supposed to go on Sunday. Chris Young will make the Sunday start. Then the Pirates come in for 4 to finish off the home part of the Mets schedule. And then the Mets go to Atlanta and Miami to finish the season. John Mayberry up for the second time as he leads off in the second. The Phillies sent 13 men to the plate in the first inning. And we have a couple of historical notes about that first inning.
Am I in this one again?
No.
Oh.
I was just going to say that the Mets gave up 9 hits in that first inning. The first time in Mets history they've ever given up 9 hits in the first inning. 51 years, first time it's happened. Wow. The other note is that Jeremy Hefner gave up 6 runs without recording an out. 3 Mets have done that before Jeremy Hefner. Jay Hook in 1962. Charlie Williams, who's most famous for being traded for Willie Mays, in 1971. And Bobby Jones did it in 1997. I didn't remember that one. Foul back. The question is, was it the real Bobby Jones or the other Bobby Jones? Because the Mets at one point had 2 of both Bobby Joneses, Bobby J and Bobby M. Bobby J being the Bobby Jones we think of the most. The other one was a lefty. Here's the 0-2, and the curveball popped up. Daniel Murphy there to squeeze it, and Mayberry retired, 1 out and nobody on.
Gary, can you help me with my scorecard here?
Yeah.
When did McHugh come in? Did he come
in after the walk to France?
Okay, so the Kratz, he hit him.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm back online. Reboot.
So McHugh faced 6 batters in that first inning, gave up 3 hits in that hit by pitch. Now here's Dominic Brown, who singled in a run in that first inning. And takes the fastball off the plate from McHugh. So I'm trying to figure out if the Mets had never given up 9 hits in the first inning before, in that 10-run inning against UN Company in 1988, how many hits in that inning? And I think you gave up 5, and then Terry Leach gave up 2, so only 7 hits.
Oh, we're styling.
With those 10 runs. Popped up, shallow right center, and Murphy out to call, and Brown retired, 2 down.
You know, I said that I've never seen an inning like we had here in the first inning, but you're reminding me that I lived it. But you know, you try to forget those games, of course. But I do know that there's a, you know, you just feel embarrassed that you made that start and put your team under the 8 ball like that, the proverbial 8 ball.
Well, let me ask you this: as a player, is it better, worse, or the same that you give up that kind of horrible inning with so few people in the ballpark?
Oh no, that has nothing to do with it. Now you're just, you know, you're embarrassed for yourself, you're embarrassed for your family that might have came to watch the game. It's a horrible feeling to have. You're embarrassed because you feel like you let your teammates down, your manager down, pitching coach down. It's just feeling I wouldn't wish on anyone.
Davis back in foul ground. 3 pop-ups in the inning, induced by McHugh. And after that debacle of a first inning, the Phillies go down 1-2-3 in the second. Can on game day, exchange the can at the Citi Field box office to save 50% off 2 tickets. Visit Mets.com/PepsiCan for more details. Lucas Duda leads off the home second inning. Duda 1 for 6 in the series, and the Phillies put on an unfamiliar shift against Lucas. Haven't seen this much
Well, it'll tell you a little bit about his season, won't it? That, you came in expecting him to hit the ball to all fields, but he's become more of a power hitter, pull hitter, especially with the ball on the ground.
Well, the Mets would certainly prefer it if he would go back to using the other field as he did last year. As Cloyd gets a strike over, 3-1. Justin Turner and Mike Baxter to follow here in the home second. Things have gone better for Duda over the last couple of weeks. Working with a hitter's count here. And he takes a strike, 3-2. And that's ball 4. So for the second straight inning, Cloyd walks the leadoff hitter. He had walked only 3 batters in 20 big league innings before this start. He's walked a pair tonight, working with a huge lead. And now Justin Turner. Well, the Brewers came from behind after blowing an early lead and now lead the Pirates 9-7 going to the bottom of the 9th. Milwaukee needing to win to stay 2.5 in back of St. Louis in the National League wild card race. Dodgers are playing in Washington and trailing 2-0 going to the 4th.
Well, you have to give Ron Renicky and his staff a lot of credit, right? They traded probably, well, if not their number 1 pitcher, the number 1A pitcher in Greinke. George Kotaris they sent packing and still kept him on the ball.
Well, they were 12 games under 500 in the 3rd week in August. They had lost 2 of their starting infielders back in May, Matt Gamble and Alex Gonzalez. But they've got enough firepower there, the leading offensive team in the league. And if the Dodgers lose tonight, the Brewers will have nobody in front of them except the team they're trying to catch, and that's the Cardinals. And that strike 3 called as Cloyd gets Turner looking for the first out of the inning. First strikeout for Cloyd.
Well, we saw this is the pitch he tries to use against the right-hander. Starts it at him and breaks that slider over the middle of the plate, or inside part of the plate, really. Tough pitch for Justin.
So 1 out and 1 on. Now Mike Baxter. Baxter really struggling right now. 0 for his last 18 and just 6 for his last 47. And he lifts the ball to left field where Juan Pierre back a couple of strides to get under it. And Baxter retired 2 away. By the way, when did the fountain of youth arrive in the Bronx?
I know, right? With Ichiro.
Hit a home run tonight after going 7 for 8 in the doubleheader last night.
With 4 stolen bases.
He's an interesting player, isn't he?
He is. He is. He's probably, I'm not going to say the only player, but when I played with Ricky Henderson, he was one of the few guys that would come in and say, Ricky's going to have a big game today, and he'd do it. Ichiro's a little bit like that.
I mean, you hear from people who played with Ichiro that he's not the greatest teammate in the world, that he's, pretty much on his own program. Yet he's gone to the Bronx and accepted, for the most part, not being the leadoff hitter and taking a subsidiary role, and it's worked so far.
Yeah, and he's starting to thrive in that role also. Made a fine a running catch in yesterday's first game.
The one he caught with his stomach?
Yes.
Franzen gets the force play on Duda to end the inning. After 2, 8-0 Phillies. very active players to lead their franchises in all-time hits.
So when David does it, he'll be the fourth.
Right.
Okay. I got one easy.
I got two of them.
One easy. Okay, two easy.
Right. I got three.
You got three already? Yeah. One guy's.
Now, one of those guys is on the disabled list.
One guy's mile high, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That would be the guy on the disabled list.
Okay.
Third inning, Eric Kratz leads off. Kratz was the first man Colin McHugh faced in relief. He hit him with a pitch with the bases loaded to force in a run. Kratz's 26th RBI, and he takes a fastball for a strike.
One's home is about 5 miles from here, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The pitcher Cloyd is on deck, and then Jimmy Rollins. And the curveball in for a strike, and it's 0-2. McHugh just settling in now. It's got to be odd for a guy who's used to be a starting pitcher to head down to the bullpen, not be your day, and all of a sudden in the first inning you're called upon to warm up and get in the game.
Well, you're probably sitting down there in the bullpen and you're making one of those important decisions. Is it going to be sunflower seeds or the gum today? That's probably the decision you're making, and it's probably with he's has such great control that came out and hit Kratz the first batter he faced. It's got Dan Worthen talking to himself.
This time Kratz hits himself.
It'll happen.
Now McHugh with the 1-2 and the curveball, little dribbler. And Colin comes off the mound to throw out Kratz, one away. So that's 5 in a row retired by McHugh. 1 out and nobody on, and the pitcher Cloyd coming up. This afternoon the Reds beat the Cubs, which lowers their magic number for clinching the NL Central to 2, and they also become the first team to clinch a postseason berth. They did it today, though, without Dusty Baker, who was hospitalized with an irregular heartbeat. So we wish Dusty all the best. It's taken high by Cloyd. They originally thought that Dusty might be suffering from pneumonia, but when they did the tests on him, they unexpectedly found that heart issue, which we certainly hope is not serious at all. So they're running a few more tests today before letting him go. Jimmy Rollins, the on-deck batter. And another curveball from McHugh. That is certainly his best pitch.
That's a curveball you saw in that first start, isn't it, Gary?
Mm-hmm.
That's straight over the top. Big break. Framed nicely by Shopik.
And there's another curveball, and David Wright comes hurrying in and throws out Cloyd 2 away. So it is certainly going to be an uphill climb for the Phillies if they want to catch the Cardinals and get that second wild card spot. But here's what they've got left. And the Nationals with a magic number of 9 for clinching the division. So by the time they get to that first series against Washington, Nats may have it pretty well wrapped up. But that is not an easy schedule by any means. Here's Rollins, who had 2 hits in that first inning, drove in 2 and scored 2. It's a pretty good first inning. And he takes a strike.
We were talking about that game in '85 that was 26-7. Vaughn Hayes in that game led off the game with a home run, and then came up in the first inning, hit a grand slam home run for 2 for 2, 5 RBIs and 2 home runs in the first inning.
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah, right. I think I have the third franchise leader in hits. MY, the initials?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so. Fly ball center field. And Baxter is there. That's 7 in a row retired by Colin McHugh now. We go to the bottom of the third. 8-0 Phils. Harvey about the special relationship he has with his dad. Plus, get an inside look at R.A. Dickey's 2012 season and how it compares to other great Mets pitchers from the past. Mets Weekly presented by W.B. Mason. New episodes Sunday at 6 only on SNY. Justin Hampson up in the Mets bullpen. Josh Tolley will bat for Colin McHugh as we start the bottom of the third. So McHugh came on in that first inning, had trouble getting settled, but then retired his last 7. Tolley making his first appearance in this series. And he dribbles one up the first baseline, a foul ball. 0-2. As this season has wound down, we've been profiling individual Mets players, talking about their season and their prospects for the future. And tonight we'll take a look at Josh Tolley. I think Josh came into this season with some real expectations. It was going to be his first year where he would be the clear-cut #1 catcher for this team. And it has really, in so many ways, been a struggle for Josh this year. It's been a year where he's been asked to redefine the type of offensive player that he is. He's tried to undo those changes. And, you know, he had the reputation and certainly the expectation of being a guy who would be a 270, 280, maybe even a 300 hitter. And it just has not worked out that way for him. Utley hurries in and makes the glove flip in time to get Tolley.
Well, you know what I think has happened, Gary, for me when watching Josh this year is that he's really gone away from what he was when he first came up. And that was a guy that could inside out the ball, that was inside, a guy who could live in the left field line and, of course, up the middle. I think his defense has certainly improved. He's got a no-hitter under his belt with Santana. Did a fantastic job. Got to be a big reason why Dickey's had a big year this year. But you know, the most important thing for Josh is that, you know, he has the hit. I mean, he comes up as a guy that, you know, is not all defense. You know, he's going to be a guy that also can drive in some runs and get some hits. And he's gone backwards with his hitting. And I think that's going to be the big thing that he has to work on this winter.
Howard makes the play on Lewis for the second out. And, you know, I think that Josh has devoted so much time to his pitch calling and his game planning. I wonder whether that's hurt him offensively.
Well, you know, I mean, the whole thing about at this level, Gary, I think you can find any reason why things haven't gone your way, but you can't allow it to happen. You know, you got to be either mentally stronger or, I mean, you're going to have some seasons that are not good. But at this point in his career, as he's trying to find his way, this was primed for one of those years that he starts to jump forward, leap forward, and not take a couple of steps backwards.
I guess what I was talking more about was the time commitment that's being asked of him and really all the Mets catchers now. I mean, we talked a lot earlier in the season about how he and Mike Nickius would get to the ballpark at 1 o'clock every day to start game planning for that night's game. And I just wonder whether mentally that takes too much out of a player.
Well, I think that you know, there is a lot asked of catchers, and I think you're right. I didn't answer your question. I think, I think it's very difficult to be a catcher, and all the information that you have now is much different than, boy, I mean, I've had teammates when I played with the catcher, you wouldn't even talk to him before the game. He had no interest in talking to you before the game until you got in the bullpen. But, you know, today, you know, they expect these catchers to know the game plan, be able to react and change if the pitcher doesn't have his stuff that day. Be, you know, part psychologist for the pitcher and getting him through innings, and at the same time try to hit 280, 285. Difficult task, but something that if you want to be an elite, you know, a solid player, you've got to be able to do.
So now the question becomes, what is Josh Tolley's future? Is he a #1 catcher? Is he a #2 catcher?
Well, after the season, I think that, you know, I said he took a couple of steps backwards. So I think there are huge question marks on whether he's a guy you can go to every day.
Murphy grounds one for Rollins. 1-2-3 inning for Tyler Cloyd on 3 ground ball outs. On we go to the 4th. 8-0 Philadelphia. Motion is brought to you by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Visit them on the web at searchmercedes.com. Justin Hampson will be the third man pitcher of the night as we go to the fourth inning.
Well, pitched 5 days ago in Milwaukee, gave up a run and got an out.
Hampson, who has big league time with Colorado and San Diego, now 32 years old. He'll face the three left-hand hitters, Pierre, Utley, and Howard in the fourth inning. And Juan Pierre takes a strike. Pierre had 2 hits in the first inning. The first one a perfectly placed bunt single. And then he singled to left field as well. Phillies sent 13 men to the plate in the first inning and scored 8 runs. Jeremy Hefner charged with 6 of those runs without recording an out. The Phillies putting up 9 first-inning hits, the most ever in a first inning against the Mets. Utley on deck, Howard to follow. And Hampson's pitch is fouled off, 1-2. Final score in Pittsburgh, the Brewers 9, the Pirates 7. Milwaukee had a 4-0 lead, fell behind 7-4, scored 4 in the 8th and 1 in the 9th. Aramis Ramirez had a homer and drove in 4. Little flare, and it's caught by David Wright. 1 away.
A good defense positioning, and nice hops here by David. Make the first out of the inning.
So Milwaukee's now won 23 of their last 29 games.
Wow.
Pittsburgh has now lost 21 of their last 28. Freight trains going in different directions.
What did you say? They're 1 game under now?
1 game under 500. Last winning season, 1992. What a shame. Here's Chase Utley, who's 2 for 2 and has driven in a couple of runs. All that came in the first inning. And he takes a slider for a strike. You know, I think everybody around baseball was rooting for Clint Hurdle's team to finally break that schneid, and if not get to the postseason, at least put up a winning record, which they still have a chance to do this year. And the Mets will see them for 4 games next week. It's a franchise with a lot of great history and a beautiful ballpark, and at some point you'd love to see them have some success, and this looked like the year. That one almost hit Utley, who never makes a move to get out of the way.
He perennially leads the National League when he plays all season long. He's been hit, 27, 28 times in a season.
10 times already this year, and he's only played less than half a year. And he drives this one to right field. Lewis coming on toward the line, and he makes the running grab for the second out. By the way, in defeat for the Pirates today, Andrew McCutchen hit his 30th home run, one of the wonderful players in this league.
Yeah, what a great season. And to have your fall coincide with the Steelers starting to play on Sunday really puts you in harm's way.
Not to mention high school football.
That's right.
Friday nights in Steel Country. 2 out and nobody on. Here's Ryan Howard, who singled in a run and grounded out in the first inning. In fact, he made the last out of that 8-run first inning. It was John Mayberry's back, and there's his shoulder. Little dribbler, and off the mound comes Hampson, and that retires the side. So Hampson comes in and throws a 1-2-3 4th inning. Still 8-0 Phils. Jets wrap up their game against the Dolphins. Tune to SNY for behind-the-scenes access, player reactions, and a complete game breakdown with exclusive on-field interviews and Rex Ryan's post-game comments. Jets post-game live presented by Toyota. Sunday immediately after the Jets-Dolphins game, only on SNY.
Well, that's post-game. Give me a little pre-game analysis. The Jets over the Dolphins easy, right?
David Wright hits one in the air to center field, and Mayberry barely has to move. There's no such thing, Ronnie, as Jets easy. The only time it's Jets easy is when you think they're lost. Right?
Yeah.
Like after the 0-4 preseason. Now the Pats, that's different.
Well, they're in a little trouble, too. They're not as smoking as they thought they were. Lost their tight end Hernandez, was quite a player.
You know what? I shed no tears.
That's right.
Ike Davis first pitch swinging, pops one up into shallow left. And Pierre puts it away, so on 2 pitches, Tyler Cloyd has the first 2 outs, and we'll see if Lucas Duda takes a pitch. The Nats have extended their lead over the Dodgers, 4-1 Washington as they go to the 5th inning behind Ross Detweiler. So the Dodgers in danger of falling 3 games behind the Cardinals and also falling behind Milwaukee in that wild card chase. After all the money they spent and all the resources they put into making a run this year, it's looking more and more as though LA's going to fall short.
Yeah. That's a lot of people to turn over and still have that kind of team camaraderie, and they were never able to click so far.
Because early in the season, you had to be very impressed with the job that Don Mattingly was doing. I mean, when we were out in Los Angeles, he had no team.
Yeah.
And yet he was still able to keep that group together. Remember, they didn't have Kemp or Ethier when the Mets played them.
No, there comes a period sometimes when you make a trade like that, you just feel like you're going to throw your gloves out there because you got the lineup that's supposed to score a lot of runs. They did not.
And now injuries to the pitching staff. You know, Lilly was hurt most of the year. Billingsley out, and now Kershaw on the sidelines too.
Yeah, it's Capuano with the start tonight for Los Angeles. He had that incredible first couple of months. Now came back to 11-10 in this season.
Lloyd runs a full count to Duda.
It's interesting. Capuano's always been a 500 pitcher his entire career, and again leveling off there this year.
The proverbial water finding its level.
Yep.
On 3-2, Duda takes a big swing and misses. Cloyd has his second strikeout, and he's now retired 9 Mets in a row. After 4, 8-0 Phils. As the first inning, Phillies scored 8 runs against Jeremy Hefner and Colin McHugh. Hefner did not retire a batter. Henry Mejia, last we saw him, was starting in Milwaukee last Saturday night.
You know, it's interesting. You and I were talking about Henry before the game because this was his day to start. He started on Saturday, had a tough go of it, especially with his control, but now getting some innings of work in this game. Chance for him to turn it around a little bit.
So after Justin Hampson worked a 1, 2, 3, 4th inning, Mejia, who would prefer not to be a relief pitcher,
well,
comes on to pitch in the 5th.
Where do you want to prefer to be, in AAA or the Major League?
That's exactly right. When did that become a style, by the way?
I don't know. A lot of players like to do that. They put their hand, which is covered in that, to their helmet, and it stays there all season long.
Pine tar hat.
Yeah, right.
John Mayberry leads off in the 5th inning for the Phillies. It'll be Mayberry, Brown, and Franzen to bat against Mejia, who split his season this year in Buffalo between starting and relieving. More successful starting than relieving. Seems as though Henry's entire professional career has been one of disruption.
Yeah.
You know, he was brought to the big leagues at age 20, probably a little prematurely 2 years ago. Asked to work out of the bullpen and then sat for long periods of time, didn't really have a defined role. Made him a starter again, and then he hurt his arm last year and had Tommy John surgery. This year was doing well as a starter, but the Mets bullpen was struggling, so they moved him to the bullpen, thinking he might be of some assistance there, but struggled in the bullpen, so they put him back in the starting rotation, took him out again, put him back in the bullpen. So because of the big league needs, Mejia has been kind of jerked around his entire career.
Yeah, he has, hasn't he?
So the question is, when will he finally be able to settle into one role or the other? David Wright handles the 2-hopper and makes a low throw, picked nicely by Davis to get Mayberry for the first down. So 1 out and nobody on. Let's check in with Kevin Burkhardt. Kevin.
Well, you look at Kelly Shopik doing the catching tonight, and when you think back to him being an athlete in high school, of course he played baseball, but also played football. And he said, yeah, I used to be a really good athlete. And I said, all right, give me a comparison. Who were you? I know you were a running back. Who were you like? He said, oh, I was like Mike Allstott, of course, the former Tampa Bay Bucks fullback who would run over people. And you could see that with Shopik's build, guys. But he was pretty proud of his accomplishments. I mean, he was talking about his days where he had 1,500 total yards, 16 touchdowns, all-district player. And, I mean, guys, we're talking about football in Texas. He went to Fort Worth, high school in Fort Worth. I mean, there's a football stadium just northeast of Dallas, Allen High School, that built a $60 million facility. $60 million for high school football, so it's a big deal. And he got looks from colleges as well. He went on a visit to Ole Miss. He actually wanted to try and find a place that would let him play both football and baseball. So he ended up going to Baylor, where he played baseball, and there was an offer to walk on, not to play both, to play football. He decided against it, though, especially because he had a partial scholarship. Didn't want to get injured and ruin the partial baseball scholarship. But I have no doubt, Gary, Jets need a first and goal situation. Kelly Shopik could punch it in.
He could be the next Terminator.
That's right.
Kevin Franzen on deck. Well, Kelly is an enormous Dallas Cowboys fan, which doesn't surprise you, as Brown takes one the other way for his second hit of the night. Met relievers had retired 11 in a row before that base hit. Well, we were talking about Josh Tolley earlier, and Kelly Shopik, the Mets picked up in the middle of August, hoping to get a look at him before he becomes a free agent at the end of the year and figure out if he might be part of their future plans. And I think the Mets have seen from Kelly exactly what they expected to see.
Yeah, the only thing is in the National League, the elite catchers, Ruiz was on this ball club, not playing tonight, Yadier Molina, Buster Posey, they do both. They catch it and they hit it.
You know, it's an interesting thing because as you see those three guys at the head of the class, as far as OPS among major league catchers, and totally far down on that list. It's almost as though catcher in the National League is becoming what shortstop in the American League was in the 90s, a defensive position which has become an offensive position.
Well, you know, it runs in streaks, Gary. You know, and sometimes you just have these elite players come up. Now, we're not even including a guy that changed from catcher to go to the outfield to maybe preserve his career, and that's Bryce Harper, who was a catcher as an amateur player. You know, we hear a lot of talk of young kids who are kind of steered away from the position of catcher. The great athletes steered away because of the wear and tear it takes on your body, but not these young men in the National League.
Well, you have to believe at some point Posey's going to be moved. I mean, Molina is a natural behind the plate, best defensive catcher in the game, and Ruiz is a veteran player, but hit toward the hole, and that's a base hit for Franzen. Brown pulls in at second, so back-to-back one-out hits for the Phillies. But, you know, Posey is such an important part of that Giants offense, and they have a very good backup at Hector Sanchez, who's just developing. You have to figure at some point Posey gets moved.
Well, except, you know, if Sandoval doesn't hit, maybe you can move him to third. Belt has had a nice second half, so what do you do with him? I mean, he's supposed to be one of their big pieces in the future. He's always had great minor league numbers.
Left field.
There you go. Well,
been done before.
Then you compromise your defense when your pitching is your number one part of your game in San Francisco. Starting pitching.
Well, maybe Buster could play left field.
Oh, okay.
Here's Eric Kratz, first and second and one out.
No collisions out there,
well,
I guess.
That's the thing. I mean, they're already so wary about him getting hurt on home plate collisions after the injury last year that compromises their defense.
You know, guys, if you look at the free agent class, too, if you're talking about the Mets catchers and where this team will be in that position next year, there's really a lot of the same guys. I mean, yeah, you're going to have a guy like Mike Napoli who will be out there. But, you know, certain guys that have team options, you don't know what's going to happen there, like a Chris Iannetta. Brian McCann's got a team option in Atlanta. But other than that, you know, you're looking at a lot of the guys that, quite honestly, have been through here. Barajas and Brian Schneider and Ronnie Polino, Henry Blanco, guys like that. It's tough to find a catcher these days if you don't have one in your system.
You know, Kevin, I think it might come more down to the trade market than the free agent market for the Mets. You look at a team like Milwaukee that's got two young catchers in Lucroy and Maldonado, and they can't justify, I think, keeping them both on the roster together because, you know, Maldonado profiles as a starting player, so maybe he becomes available in a deal, much like the Padres made last year, picking up Yasmani Grandal from the Reds because they had Devin Mesoraco.
Well, think of it this way. He's had a really down year. But do you think that maybe you can find some lightning in the bottle with, talking about the Padres, Nick Hundley maybe coming here? You know, that's a guy that maybe you try to get a little more out of. I don't know.
Well, you have to either pay or buy low. Those are your choices. And it's taken low by Kratz 2-2. But the fact of the matter is that you look around baseball and catching is a very thin position, maybe thinner than it's ever been.
Despite the talent at the major league level.
Right. Well, that's part of what you're saying is that the better athletes have been steered away from catching, and you can understand why. Same way that you know, someone might choose a baseball career rather than football. You might want to play first base of the outfield rather than catcher. Hit hard past a diving right for a base hit. Brown will be waved around. Duda's throw to the plate comes in on a hop and the tag, and he's out. Beautiful throw by Duda, and Shopping puts the tag on Brown for the second out.
Well, you think on this base hit to Duda, who charges it nicely and comes up and throws a one-hop strike. Good throw. Good position by Shopping. And Dominic Brown, we've talked about him and his speed or lack of. He's had those problems with his knees and not able to come there, and just a fine play by Duda and Shopping. We didn't see any of those kind of throws from right field by Lucas Duda, but seems to having a real penchant for it from left field.
5th outfield assist of the year for Duda. So now 2 out and 2 on for the pitcher Cloyd. Phillies now with 12 hits in the game, and Cloyd takes a strike. He's 0 for 2. Get into a double play and grounded to third. And a good looking fastball for a strike from Mejia at 97. Franzen at second, Kratz at first with 2 down. And Cloyd lifts one to shallow right, and Fred Lewis is there to make the catch and end the inning. 3 hits but no runs thanks to Duda's throw. Halfway through, it's still 8-0 Phils. Against the Marlins, John Neese going for a career-high 12th win tomorrow night against the rookie Jacob Turner, who came over from the Tigers. R.A. Dickey tries for win number 19 Saturday afternoon against Mark Burnley. And then Chris Young pitches the Sunday game against Ricky Nolasco.
Nolasco's had a strange season. He's had some real blowout games, and then he's thrown a couple of shutouts.
Justin Turner leads off in the bottom of the 5th inning. Turner took a called third strike his first time up. Tyler Cloyd walked the leadoff hitter in each of the first 2 innings tonight, but now he's retired 9 Mets in a row. Robert Carson, next man up in the Mets bullpen. Mets set to go to the bullpen with nobody out in the first inning today, so that bullpen will get a workout tonight. We mentioned earlier in the game that the Mets have decided to shut down Josh Edgin after one more appearance, after Edgin gave up the game-winning home run last night. And the reason for that is that last year in relief, Edgin made 49 appearances. This year, combining the major leagues and the minor leagues, it's already made 74.
Good decision then. 74 is a big number.
Because we were talking earlier in the season about, you know, all these innings limits that have been put on starting pitchers, talking about Harvey and others. And we asked the question several times, well, what are the limits on young relief pitchers in terms of how their innings or outings increase? And the thing about Edgin is he's not going to throw that many more innings this year than he did last year, but he's been up in the bullpen so many times and in so many games.
And he's also been up and down and not used in ball games, right. So all that additional wear and tear.
Turner floats one out to right center, and Mayberry has it for the first out. New York Mets baseball on SNY is presented by Citi. Join the Mets September 25th for the final Citi Tuesday of the season, where Citi credit and debit card holders enjoy savings and benefits at Citi Field. Learn more at Mets.com/Citi Tuesdays. Also Tuesday is the last T-shirt Tuesday of the year, and we just got a gander at the shirt they're going to give away Tuesday. Maybe the best one of the year.
Nice.
As Mike Baxter takes a strike. It's a David Wright T-shirt, but not like any David Wright T-shirt you've ever seen. It's the David Wright Explosion T-shirt.
Nice, and with his signature too. Very nice signature here.
So let's see if we can get a look at that. It's very nice. And then on the back, you got more explosions.
Kind of the same swing he had in last night's ball game, right, on that home run that put the Mets ahead.
I don't know, a little more level on that swing.
That's
Baxter drives one deep right field, heading toward the Pepsi porch, and it's out of here. Mike Baxter with his third home run of the year, and he gets the Mets on the board. It's now 8-1. Baxter snaps an 0 for 19 stretch with that home run off the facing of the Pepsi porch. And the Mets finally break through against Tyler Cloyd.
well, nice hitting by the Whitestone kid. Likes the ball down and in, cutter down and in, perfect spot for that swing by Baxter. Long home run.
Maybe he was inspired by the T-shirt. Produced his own explosion.
There we go. Oh, a nice swing. I don't know why you're watching it. No need.
Now Kelly Shoppach takes ball one. Shoppach hit into a fielder's choice his first time up. Jason Bay has come out on deck to pinch hit. And Cloyd throws a strike, 1-1. Well, happy birthday to Jason Bay, who today is celebrating his 34th birthday. See if he can find a proper way to celebrate.
Yeah.
1-2 now to Shoppach. Well, somebody's got something to smile about around here.
Finally.
With the Mets struggling so badly offensively the second half of the year, there's been all manner of interesting numbers to look at. Not very pleasant numbers for the Mets as you look at the numbers on the Mets catchers this year. But last night the Mets struck out 15 times against the Phillies. In their first 50 years, the Mets only had 14 nine-inning games in which they struck out 15 times. 14 times in 50 years. It's already happened 5 times this year. 5 games of 9 innings in which the Mets have struck out at least 15 times. Give you an idea about the kind of, especially second half of the year, that it's been. And there's a strikeout, the third of the night for Tyler Cloyd. Well, we've talked a lot about the 3 runs or fewer the Mets have scored in 15 straight home games. They are bearing down on an ugly record that was set by, of all teams, the New York Yankees, playing at the Polo Grounds back in 1915 when they went 18 straight games without scoring more than 3. But keep in mind that was in the dead ball era before they juiced up the ball in 1920. Jason Bay started the first game of this series, went 0 for 3. Jason trying to snap out of an 0 for 18 streak of his own. Baxter just stopped an 0 for 19 with a home run. And it's a ball and 2 strikes to Bay. Did you like playing on your birthday?
I think I did. I think I had some good games on my birthday. I remember one, maybe I lost 1-0 in Montreal. It might have been.
Not so good for Jason Bay. He takes a call, third strike. Back-to-back strikeouts for Cloyd. Mets get on the board on Baxter's home run and trail 8-1 after 5. Active players lead their franchise in all-time hits. Of course, Derek Jeter is one, Todd Helton, and Michael Young.
So I was saying 5 miles away is his home. Someone plays mile high up in the air. Todd Helton and MY for Texas Rangers.
Robert Carson will pitch the 6th inning for New York.
Well, we've been pretty impressed with Robert. You know, when you see young pitchers come up, go back down to the minor leagues and come up again, you want to see improvement. And I think you certainly have seen it with Robert. He's got a live arm as Manny Acosta gets ready in the bullpen. He's thrown strikes since he's come back up. He's a little more refinement, but he's on his way.
Jimmy Rollins is 2 for 3 tonight. He's scored 2. He's driven in 2. Well, we have an extra added bonus tonight to the trivia question.
We do.
Well, Dave Freed, our intrepid statistician, has decided that we need some material.
Well, you guys have been arguing for the last 2 innings. So
no, actually, we're on the same side.
Okay.
There's an argument with the official scorer who seems to have messed up who got charged with how many runs in the first inning. Anyway, 2-1 to Rollins. Here's an additional trivia question to build off the one we already had. All right? 3 other players, not the 3 we just mentioned, who once played for the Mets and are the all-time franchise leaders in hits for another team. All no longer active.
Willie?
Willie Mays is one.
Center fielder? Whitey?
No.
No? Okay.
More recent.
Oh, more recent?
You got a second baseman and a shortstop. Shortstop's harder because he wasn't a Met for very long. Back in the 90s.
Well, new organization. Toronto, maybe. Robbie Alomar?
Toronto's the right organization, wrong player.
Really? Who was with them?
He was with the Mets in 1993 for a while.
Oh,
and then went back to this team where he thrived, which he didn't as a Met.
Oh, I played against him in the minor leagues. You're talking about shortstop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I forgot he played there so long. Tony Fernandez.
Exactly. Toward the line comes Fred Lewis, and Rollins is retired, 1 away.
I want to tell you, I played against him coming up, and he was at Syracuse, and I was at Tidewater, and he was just such a fine player. He was an awkward player to look at because he had extremely long limbs, and he kind of threw backing up a little bit like Adrian Beltre does for the Texas Rangers. It was unorthodox, but he made every play. He was a wonderful switch hitter. And even a finer gentleman, just a very nice person.
There's Juan Pierre, who's 2 for 3. What I remember about Tony Fernandez as a Met is he had a big problem with kidney stones when he was with the Mets, and he was only here for a couple of months, and he really struggled, and he was so apologetic about the fact that he didn't produce, and the Mets traded him away pretty quickly, and he went back to Toronto, and he was a big part of their second consecutive World Championship in '93.
Well, the Mets got a few people over there that helped the Blue Jays. Mookie Wilson, right, went over to Toronto and helped them in '92.
Yeah, Mookie went over in '89.
In '89, he went early. Sorry,
but I think he was still there.
And Anconi, of course.
Right.
And that was '92, I believe.
All right, so you still have one more to get.
One more to play with the Mets and the second
baseman, who was his franchise's all-time hits leader. Recent. Toward the middle of the diamond, Turner comes over, makes a nice pickup, and no chance to get Pierre, who has his 3rd hit of the night.
Oh, I got it. He'll be known forever for a night in the Bronx, right?
That's exactly right.
Okay. Oh, well.
That, of course, is Luis Castillo, the Marlins' all-time hits leader.
I still swear that Keith said, "Oh no," before the ball came out of his glove.
I have to say, in the 7 years that you and I have worked together, it's the only time I've ever seen you angry in the booth. I mean, you were just, I don't know. You slammed down your scorebook and you walked away.
I know. I was just livid. I don't know, what gets over you sometimes. Sometimes you just, you're pulling for players to play well. You just want to see it, and you don't want to see someone end on a misplay like that. But I remember we spoke the next day about how Castillo handled it.
He really did so well. Well, if you were upset, it only began to approximate what many millions of Mets fans were feeling at the same time.
It wasn't that I was upset or mad at Castillo. It wasn't that. It's just that if you remember that game, it was such a finely played game by the Mets. You know, they had done a lot of things right to get that lead, and
Pierre nearly gets himself picked off.
It was just one of those games that you just hate to see blown with an error like that, because it was just a well-played game.
The Phillies now have 13 hits in this game. All 13 have been singles. The Mets have out extra base hitted the Phillies tonight. Drive toward the gap in left center. This will change. And there's the extra base hit. Passes over the wall for a ground rule double, and so Pierre will have to stop at third. That's perfect timing, wasn't it? 13 straight singles, and now a double for Chase Utley, his third hit of the night.
You know, it's these many little battles, though, that within a game within a game, that you want to see your young Mr. Carson be more successful here. He's going to be pitching here for years to come as a specialty reliever. He's going to have to get Utley out. He's going to have to get Howard out. It doomed the Mets last night.
It's funny, Terry Collins was asked about Josh Edgin and his performance last night, walking Utley, giving up the home run to Howard, whether it would change at all his perception of Edgin going forward into next season. And Terry said, I can guarantee you, when we make our first road trip of the year next year in Philadelphia in the middle of April, he'll be on the mound facing Utley and Howard.
There you go.
Infield in for Howard, it takes a strike. Howard singled to right to drive in a run in the first. Has grounded out twice since.
Well, I don't know if there's anything scarier than having the infield in with Ryan Howard hitting.
Married men off the field.
Really?
Line caught by Murphy. Flipped to second in time for the double play. Beautifully done by Daniel Murphy. Timed his lead perfectly and somehow doubles Utley off second base. That gets Carson through the inning. Fred Lewis leading off in the bottom of the sixth. with a first pitch base hit against Tyler Cloyd, and the Mets have their 3rd hit of the night. And Lewis has his 2nd hit as a Met. Here's that play that ended the top of the inning.
Well, nice play first by Murph to get to this baseball and not taking anything for granted. Threw it to Turner. It looked like Utley was safe, but on further review, we see Turner get over there in time. No slide really by Utley, kind of a half slide, and it cost him the play.
Todd Titchener right on top of the play to make the call. And Utley didn't move off that spot for about 2 minutes until somebody brought him his glove. And we will accentuate it with the Coors Light freeze cam.
Well, it's official when we got to the freeze cam. Foot not on the base, ball about in the glove.
Almost.
Oh.
Curveball back to Cloyd. Rollins with the turn for the 1-6-3 double play. 2 out and nobody on. Second time Murphy's grounded into a double play tonight. He's halfway to Torrey.
That's right. 4 in 1 game.
Of course, Torrey did it in just 4 at bats. Murph said 1 at bat without a double play. Of course, when Torrey grounded into 4 double plays in 1 game, he blamed it all on Felix Millan, who went 4 for 4 in front of him.
That's funny.
Jeremy Horst up in the bullpen for the Phillies, and Manny Acosta up again for the Mets. David Wright is 1 for 2 tonight. Now just 4 hits shy of Ed Kranepool's franchise hits record. Hit hard, and Rollins is there to snag the 1-hopper and throws out right to end the inning. We've completed 6 now at Citi Field. Tyler Cloyd and the Phillies with an 8-1 lead. Facebook, a last chance to win $1,000 plus do-over the voiceovers on the SNY commercials featuring disgruntled sports memorabilia. It's the SNY voiceover do-over contest. Deadline tomorrow is September 21st. To enter, visit Facebook and like SNY today. Jordani Valdez-Bean comes in the game to play second base. He'll bat ninth. The new pitcher, Manny Acosta, will hit number 2. And as Acosta gets set to go to work, let's check in with Kevin.
Seen Fred Lewis getting the start today out in right field. He sits in the back corner of the Mets clubhouse, ultra quiet. You don't even know he's there, and you haven't known he's been there since those September call-ups. And he, though, is a good reason why the call-ups are a good idea. You know, yeah, maybe the rosters and active rosters, there needs to be some tweaking there. But, you know, talk about a guy that appreciates a chance to be back here. Consider where he was earlier this year. He was in camp with the Indians, got only 15 at-bats in spring training, and then was released and sat home, he said, for 3 weeks without a single phone call. So he started thinking, well, you know, time to get a 9-to-5 job, time to move on with my life. I actually texted my brother, he said, and told him I'm done. His brother called him back and said, look, you're not done. Come on. You know, there's things you could do. Get back with it. Get with an independent team as a base hit for John Mayberry here. And so Fred said, okay. So he did. He made some calls, called around into the independent leagues, and that's when the Mets called, too. He ended up signing with the Mets at the end of April on the 25th. So he goes right to AAA Buffalo. He hits .294. Had a great year down there. And I said, what were you thinking? He said, my thought the whole time in Buffalo was, I'm not ready to go home. I didn't want to go home. I didn't want it to end. So being here, certainly the reward for kind of sticking with it. And my brother has a big part of that for nudging me as well.
And you know, there's no reason to think that Fred Lewis can't still be a useful player for somebody, whether it's the Mets or somebody else. I mean, his career has been good enough that he should be able to stick with the big league team.
You don't mind your brother nudging you? You just don't want him to nudge you. Kevin, different chair, changing the lock, or what are you doing down there?
I don't know what I'm doing, to be honest.
Here, do me one favor, Kevin.
Yeah.
With that empty chair next to you, don't have a conversation with it.
Give it time.
Field reporter. Love it.
Dominic Brown is 2 for 3 tonight. He's driven in a run. And the changeup from Acosta, and he's behind 2-0.
Kevin, you got to be able to warrant a KB on that chair or something, right? Field reporter, generic.
Well, I mean, you know, I thought keeping it generic was the professional thing to do.
Oh, you don't want to be like a big league, you know, in a big league someone?
No.
Okay.
I mean, you know, I could buy like fireworks and sprinkles, sparkles on it. I want to keep it low key, Ronnie.
Okay, good.
Could be like that
Good idea.
David Wright T-shirt, right? Here in the booth, we don't have designations on our chairs.
Well, we always know what chair's mine, though.
Right, because you sit in the low chair. I don't know why that is. Popped up in foul ground, and Wright comes over. And Brown retired one away. But we do have designations on our cough boxes. But the thing about it is that unlike Kevin's chair, which is inscribed nicely with field reporter, our names on our boxes are on a piece of adhesive tape.
That's right.
Which can be replaced very, very easily.
Exactly. Well, we know that. We know that. Just thrown together. Some absolutely, whoever wrote on this, no Catholic school training, just not very good script or writing. But, yeah, there is a reason I sit on the low chair. I'll tell you the reason.
Okay. Franz is the batter, and he takes the curveball high.
Well, when we have it, and I'm in the higher chair today. When we're in the three-man booth, I find that if I sit a little lower than you two guys, you're on flanking me on either side, it's easier for us to have a conversation instead of me blocking one or the other.
I thought it was that if you were lower, you had a better chance of seeing fly balls.
Well, that I can do, but also I can look at the monitor, right over it. I can see the entire field, and I think, Keith likes to be the tallest. He's kind of that kind of personality,
Franson fouls it off. By the way, did you see that the arrangements have now been made for the shearing?
I have. I didn't think he was going to go through with it, but I'm proud of him.
Having the mustache shave for charity next Thursday before the Mets' last home game. And it'll be a public setting out on the plaza outside Citi Field. It's going to be very exciting.
He's going to come in here a crimson bloody mess.
Well, here's the thing. After spending the summer in Sag Harbor outdoors, after he gets that mustache shaved, how white will it be underneath that thing?
No, he'll just do a Got Milk commercial straight away.
I'm afraid there'll be like a caterpillar or something under there. I mean, it's been a long time.
Exactly.
way, Jimmy the bat boy getting booed mercifully. He decided to give a foul ball away to a fan that apparently did not warrant it. Jimmy taking a beating.
Hooked down to third. David plays it on one hop and an easy double play. Turned by the Mets. 5-4-3 to end the inning. I don't think Jimmy deserves rough treatment. I really don't.
As we went to break, you heard the crowd booing. I said that Jimmy, the ball boy, was taking it on the chin. You know, Jimmy has a tough job. May not look at it. He's here on the field, sitting here helping out the umpires and the players. But he takes a beating, a verbal beating from this crowd behind me. You see, because all the baseballs that he gets, he comes back here and has to face the crowd behind me that immediately scream his name, Jimmy. And then he has to make a split-second decision where the ball is going. Sometimes it's a very popular choice. Sometimes very, very unpopular. And the thing about Jimmy is, you know, Kevin Kierst, our clubhouse manager, helped him out. He used to have, and so did all the other ball boys, the names on the back that said Jimmy. So it was like a giant target. But somehow, fans still remember Jimmy's name. Even though it's just a BB for ball boy, they still know it's Jimmy. So I don't know if he's asked for maybe a position change down the third base line. It's a very difficult night for Jimmy sometimes, boys. I've been here and seen it myself.
Definitely less traffic for Anthony down the right field line.
Well, you can't take Anthony's spot. Anthony's gold. Gold glove down there. Best I've ever seen.
Those guys work so hard day after day. I mean, they get seen in public as the bat boy or the ball boy, but their real work is in the clubhouse.
Not only in the clubhouse, there's many times that we get back off a flight at 3, 4, sometimes 5 o'clock in the morning, and they're waiting outside when that truck with the luggage comes off, and they take it off and give it to the respective players, and they just start to work as the players are going home to go to sleep.
Davis strikes out for the first down of the home 7th.
Well, Cloyd's been pretty impressive. It's hard to judge after getting 8 runs in the first, but you know, he's kept the ball down. That's something that he did not do against the Mets early in his first start.
5 strikeouts now for Cloyd. And now Lucas Duda. Duda has walked and struck out. Mets have had just 3 hits tonight against Cloyd. And again, they put on the full shift against Lucas, something we've not seen other teams do against him. And it's popped up. On comes Pierre to make the call. And there are 2 out. So 2 up and 2 set aside in the bottom of the 7th. And now Justin Turner, who's taking a call third strike and flying to center 0 for 2. In the American League Central race, as Jeremy Horst is up in the bullpen, Detroit lost this afternoon, and the White Sox, who started the day with a 2-game lead, are leading at Kansas City 3-0 in the 5th.
Well, there's a lot of talk that Kansas City was going to play a big part. Well, they might be playing a big part in handing it to Chicago.
Well, they beat the White Sox last night.
Yeah.
Bruce Chen pitched a terrific game. But the White Sox have been able to maintain that lead over Detroit despite the fact that the Tigers were so heavily favored going into the season. And despite the fact that they have maybe the best pitcher in the game and maybe the best hitter in the game. Right back to Cloyd. And another easy inning for Tyler Cloyd. Cost him just 9 pitches. He's allowed just 3 hits through 7. 8-1 Phillies. From left field to first base, Ronnie Cedeno comes in to play shortstop. Justin Turner moves from shortstop to third. Fred Lewis moves from right field to left field. Andres Torres comes in to play center field, and Mike Baxter moves from center field to right field. The new pitcher is Elvin Ramirez. Got all that?
Yeah, you made like Dave Johnson. It was almost like a horse race. Very good. When you see Elvin's numbers so far, it's going to always be his control that you're going to watch each and every outing.
If you are keeping a scorecard, and God bless you if you are, Cedeno's hitting in the number 2 spot, Torres hitting third, and the pitcher hits in the 4 hole. At least that's what we think. Well, the Met bullpen has done a fine job today. After the Phillies scored 8 runs in the first inning, they've held them scoreless for the last 6. Eric Kratz leads off. He's 1 for 2. He also was hit by a pitch to drive in a run in that big first inning. And he takes outside for ball 1. By the way, some further research has revealed this is the first time that the Mets have ever given up 8 runs in the first inning in a home game. So they've never been behind by 8 before when they came to bat in the bottom of the first, as they were today. 1-1 to Kratz. Nice bounce. SNY Super Slow Motion brought to you by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Visit them on the web at searchmercedes.com. There's a happy moment for the Mets tonight. Mike Baxter's home run.
You know, Gary, Eric Kratz came up. It's his 36th game. If the Phils hold on, it would be 23-13 in his games, which is pretty good for a backup, right?
Well, he's gotten a lot of playing time over the last month because Carlos Ruiz has been battling a foot injury, and that coincides with the Phillies' run. The Phillies, despite losing 3 out of 4 in Houston last weekend, have won 10 of their last 13 to move a game above 500 for the season. Pitcher Cloyd is on deck. He may have a chance to go the distance tonight. Cloyd has thrown only 80 pitches through 7 innings. We mentioned that the Tigers lost today. The Angels play later on against Texas. And one of the big debates in baseball right now is Miguel Cabrera versus Mike Trout. Who's the American League MVP? And it's a very interesting argument between a player who's fairly one-dimensional but might win the Triple Crown this year and a multi-talented young star. Which side do you come down?
You know, there has been a Triple Crown in the American League since '67, Carl Yastrzemski, and I think if he gets that Triple Crown, I'll give the MVP to Cabrera. Despite, you know, you were talking about the 2 MVP candidates, and both teams might not get in the playoffs.
Right. And Kratz went around, strike 3.
I think that Mike Trout has had the biggest. He's been the biggest difference maker for those Los Angeles Angels, but still they haven't been the team that they thought they would be, you know, as far as being in the playoffs. But you know, he's going to get Rookie of the Year. MVP can go to Cabrera.
I mean, there is precedent for a player winning the Triple Crown and not winning the MVP. Didn't Ted Williams win the Triple Crown and lose out to Joe DiMaggio?
That's right. Well, that's the year he hit 56 straight, right?
But also, I mean, you look at that race and you can make the argument that, as you can when the Cabrera-Trout race, that defense plays a role, right? DiMaggio was a much better defensive player than Williams was, and clearly Trout is an extraordinary defensive player, and Cabrera is a below average.
He's below average, but you know, a lot of times, which is overlooked, Cabrera does not have a lot of errors this season. You know, yes, he does not get to a lot of balls, certainly not rob home runs like Trout does, but you know, he doesn't have a lot of errors in the season. And I think, in fact, the last time I watched him play, one of the announcers was saying he hadn't made an error since June, you know, so. But I know what you're saying. He certainly, that is not a strength.
Elvin Ramirez working here in the 8th inning. Mets have used 7 pitchers tonight. Let's check in with Kevin.
I'm talking about one of the young stars in Trout. Mets certainly have hope they have a young star in Jeurys Familia. And, you know, Terry Collins said today that they want to work Familia in tough late game situations here these last couple weeks, just to kind of see how he responds, although it's probably hard to emulate the way the Mets are in right now, the situation they're in. But I asked him, why relieving over starting? Why are you and others convinced that he should be a reliever instead of a starter right now? And he said, well, from what he's done so far, you know, he's got that power sinker and a slider, and a lot of times mid-game that sinker goes away, and when it does, he starts to fall behind and he tries to locate too much. So, you know, right now he's real comfortable because he attacks hitters, and Terry likes the fact that he does that. He said, look, we get to spring training, we'll analyze the whole thing, see who we have, see where people fit, and if he's going to be a starter, fine, we'll probably send him down to AAA and let him do that. But right now, this very moment, he's a reliever.
And he's making the adjustment to what it takes to be a reliever in terms of getting loose quickly, getting up and down. Last night he was up twice during the game.
Yeah, Ricky Bonas, the bullpen coach, of course, is helping him with that process. Jerry Reese, a starter all season long in AAA.
And really his entire professional career.
Yeah.
But Ricky said that he's taking fewer and fewer pitches to get ready, partly because he's so anxious to get in the game. And unlike Mejia, Familia does not appear nearly as resistant to the idea of being a reliever.
Well, I think, you know, I know you can voice your opinion, but I think it's important to, you know, let the team decide where you're going to be. I mean, the key is to get to the major leagues as quickly as possible. And there used to be a time where most starting pitchers would come up and be in the bullpen for a season at least and learning how to pitch before they got their chance to start.
Well, it certainly has worked for Adam Wainwright.
That's right. You know, the Dodgers for many, many years started guys in the bullpen, and they would evolve into starting pitchers.
Some of them, but, you know, there was the one guy the Dodgers started in the bullpen who they thought, he's too small to be a starting pitcher. That guy named Pedro Martinez.
Yeah, that was a error in judgment. Big time.
2-2 to Rollins. And I remember when they made the deal with Montreal, they traded Pedro Martinez for Delino DeShields, and virtually everybody in baseball said, how could the Expos make that trade? How can you trade a player the caliber of Delino DeShields for a relief pitcher?
You're right about that. I remember when it happened. You have a guy that's pitching kind of not, well, he wasn't really the long man out there. He was kind of like the wild card. He'd pitch all different kind of situations with Pedro in the Los Angeles bullpen. And Delino DeShields at that point was probably one of the better second basemen in the game.
3-2 to Rollins, and he pops it up. Who's going to get it? Shoppik goes out to call. Wright calls him off. Turner calls him off and makes the catch for the second out.
Nice job by Justin taking charge of that. Tough play for the catcher. Calls him off. You could hear him from up here making the call. And a little side saddled catch of the pop-up.
Well, really, you can hear just about everything.
Yeah, right.
2 out and now Juan Pierre, the batter. I remember when Pedro got to Montreal, they felt as though he struggled with his command, and he hit a lot of batters. They felt as though he was scatter-armed, and they would put a wooden cutout of a hitter in the bullpen for him to throw to during his bullpen sessions. There's a base hit for Pierre, his 4th hit of the night, and the Phillies have 2 men on. Turned out he didn't have control problems. He just liked pitching inside.
He did. He had a mean streak, and that served him well early on.
16 hits now for the Phillies. Chase Utley has 3 of them, including their only extra base hit tonight, a double in the 6th inning. 15 singles and that 1 double, enough for Philadelphia so far.
I played for a short time with El Presidente, Dennis Martinez, and he was the king of hitting a guy in August. I said, what was that, El Presidente? He said, well, in April, he showed me up. Never forget.
Nice looking fastball from Ramirez for a strike. Dennis Martinez was the king of giving up 4 runs in the 1st inning and then shutting you down and winning the game.
That's right. Dave, will you find out what Juan Pierre is hitting against the Mets this season? It's got to be an astronomical number. He seems to get a rope every single time he's up.
He's approaching Ty Wigginton territory. Now Ramirez ahead on Utley 0-2 with 2 out and 2 on. And it's lined into left center for a base hit. Floyd around third, hook him in to score. The Phillies get their first run since the 1st inning and lead it 9-1. Utley's 4th hit of the game and his 3rd run batted in.
Well, the toughest part of this play right here was second base umpire Todd Tichenor, who somehow got out of the way of this tracer. Fastball away, Linya hit by Utley. Now watch Tichenor. He's got to bend at the hip and get out of the way of that baseball. Nice job, Todd.
Might have pulled a muscle, but he did get out of the way. So 9 runs on 17 hits now for the Phillies. And Ryan Howard, who's 1 for 4 on the night. Let's see, with his 4 for 5 today, Juan Pierre is now 20 for 44 against the Mets this year, hitting .455. 20 hits against one team for a part-time player.
Yeah, he's a platoon player.
By the way, he's been doing that for a long time.
He has.
His first 4-hit game of this season.
It's one of my favorites to watch. It's just energetic, hardworking, doesn't say too much.
Good high fastball by Elvin Ramirez, 1-1 to Howard. By the way, kudos to every human being who was in the stands tonight. I mean, how big of a diehard do you have to be? A makeup game on a Thursday night. Your team gives up 8 runs in the first inning, and these people are hanging out and having a good time.
You know, if you're a giant football fan, they're on TV tonight. Got a few Phillies fans, but the diehards are here. Great to see. And sticking it out, too.
He's a Jet fan. He doesn't want to watch the Giants.
Is that how you Jet fans roll? You just you can't even watch the other team?
Not if they're winning.
Oh.
Jeez, I don't get it. Here's the 1-2, and Howard takes it low. There's a Giants fan.
Victor Cruz fan.
Does she even know they're playing tonight? Two out, 2 on, 2-2 to Howard. And he lofts that one to right. Over comes Baxter to grab it, and that retires the side. Phillies had a run. We go to the bottom of the 8th. It's 9-1 Philadelphia. Community Bank, 3 hits for the Mets tonight. Mike Baxter has the biggest one. A home run in the 5th inning, accounting for the Mets' only run tonight. And Baxter will lead off in the home 8th inning. Mike's home run snapped an 0 for 19 stretch. It was his 3rd of the year. Tyler Cloyd working into the 8th inning, and he throws a strike. Cloyd pitched 6 innings against the Mets in his big league debut back on August 29th. And this is his longest big league outing. First time he's thrown a pitch in the 8th inning.
Well, the Mets are still trying to eyeball this, but Brian Gorman, the home plate umpire, is just, listen, I am calling strikes, so swing the bat.
Not that one.
No.
Justin DeFreitas is the right-hander, and Jeremy Horst the left-hander in the Phillies bullpen. Here's the 1-2. And Baxter takes strike 3 called. Just as you drew it up, Ronnie.
It just, when you get in these games, you just have to identify what is going on. And what is going on is that it's 9-1, and the home plate umpire is going to start calling everything that's close. So swing the bat.
It's pretty good. 20 out of 25 first pitch strikes for Cloyd tonight. Remember when we were talking in that first inning about him, warming up and sitting for 40 minutes before he pitched? I guess it didn't really hurt him.
No, I can see next start he's going to warm up at 6:15, shut it down at 6:30, and wait 40 minutes for the game to start.
What happens if they score 8 runs for him again?
Then he's really in trouble.
Kelly Shopping is 0 for 2 tonight, 1 for 7 in this series. And Shopping drives one to left, but right at Juan Pierre. 2 out. Let's check in with the studio. Gary Apple standing by to let us know what's coming up tonight on Geico Sports Night.
Gary, thanks so much. Jets getting a bit of good news when it comes to Darrelle Revis today, and R.A. Dickey paid a visit to the studio today and talks about potentially winning the Cy Young. See you tonight, guys.
Thanks, Gary. That is a terrific time.
He is a dapper dresser.
We could never compete with Gary.
We just call him the pro over there.
He is that. Here's Valdespino for the first time. Came in on a double switch and takes his home run cut, which he'll often do early in the count. Valdespino 0 for 2 in this series. And he hits this one in the air to right center. And Mayberry eases over and puts it away to retire the side. Cloyd has made his way through 8, allowing just 3 hits. It's 9-1 Philadelphia. Eighth man pitcher of the game.
Well, he hasn't given up runs in 3 of his 4 outings, so it's going to be interesting to see Jerry Reese pitch here in the top of the 9th. It's a blowout game. It's not a highly leveraged place for him, but the more times he can get out there in the mound and get comfortable is always a positive thing.
John Mayberry will be the first man to face him. The Phillies scored 8 runs in the first inning tonight and have cruised since then. By the way, this is the second time in a week now that the Mets have tied a franchise record by using 8 pitchers in a 9-inning game. They did that in Milwaukee last Saturday night, and 8 more pitchers tonight.
That was Mejia's start, right?
Right. Mejia at least gave the Mets a few outs. Not as many as he would have liked. went 3 innings plus. Tonight, Jeremy Hefner did not retire a batter, charged with 6 runs and 6 hits.
Well, I don't think you could get a better, stronger kind of physical gifts that Familia has. I mean, tall, strong, just a great, fantastic arm.
Well, for him, it's all been about command this year, and it's come and gone at the AAA level.
He would be a guy, Gary, that early in the count, I would sit my catcher right down the middle. Because he has so much movement on the baseball. Just throw it down the middle. It's going to move to the corners. I mean, even when he's just trying to get it over, it's 95 miles an hour.
Dominic Brown on deck. And then Kevin Franzen here in the top of the 9th. And a fastball strike at 96, 2-2. Mayberry's 2 for 4 tonight. Phillies have 6 different players with 2 or more hits tonight. Pierre and Utley each have 4 hits. And Familia, with a 97-mile-an-hour fastball, strikes out Mayberry for the first out. That was impressive. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Visit them on the web at searchmercedes.com. By Dunkin' Donuts, America runs on Dunkin'. And by Hyundai, new Hyundai owners are talking about their cars in the booth. Now Dominic Brown, who's 2 for 4 tonight and has driven in a run. And he takes a big rip at a fastball. They've gone to the bottom of the 8th now in Washington. The Nats leading the Dodgers 4-1. So the Dodgers in danger of falling 3 games behind the Cardinals in the race for the second wild card. Little floater into left field, and that'll fall for a base hit. So Dominic Brown has his 3rd hit of the game, and the Phillies have their 18th. 17 singles and 1 double. It's like being pecked to death.
Oh.
In fact, it's been a record-setting and record-tying night. The 17 singles against the Mets ties a club record for the most singles the Mets have ever given up in a game. 5th time it's happened. Kevin Franzen with a chance to break that record. He's 1 for 3 and a walk tonight. And Familia throws a fastball for a strike. Now, how did she get in here?
That's right. That seems to become a favorite of the fans in Philadelphia, the fanatic hat, right?
Well, I think it's a takeoff on the panda hat from San Francisco.
Oh,
right?
I get it. Okay, I get it.
By the way, speaking of panda, Sandoval had a big day today. A couple of home runs for the Giants in their win. Could be a double play. Cedeno fumbles it, and they get the out at second base. Well, that's just not minding your P's and Q's. Mets should have had a double play. Instead, they settle for 1 ugly out.
But what's Dominic Brown doing? He slid before the bag. I mean, he lost it in the transfer. Okay, that's not a good play for Cedeno. Valdespin stays with it. Watch where Brown goes. 90 feet between the bags, Dominic. Still 90.
Guess he was anticipating a double play, but it didn't transpire that way. So that's a strange second out. And now Eric Kratz will be the batter. And a slider for ball 1. Mentioned the Giants win today, so if the Dodgers lose, the Giants' magic number will be down to 3 for clinching the National League West. And they'll have a 10-game lead. I don't think anybody was expecting that kind of walkover.
Ryan Howard sitting next to Dominic Brown, trying to get a little explanation of what just happened.
Kratz is 1 for 3 tonight. Also hit by a pitch to drive in a run in the 8-run first inning. And now Familia behind 3-0. Nate Shearholtz has come out on deck. He'll pinch hit for Tyler Cloyd, which I'm at a loss. Cloyd's thrown 88 pitches through 8 innings as a chance for a complete game, and they're taking him out. I mean, when are you going to get a complete game if not tonight? 9-1 lead, 88 pitches, and he's not going to get the shot at it. There's ball 4 to Kratz.
The only thing the explanation I can find, and it doesn't sound like a very good one, but maybe you want to see one of your pitchers in the bullpen who hasn't thrown in a long time.
B.J. Rosenberg is the guy up in the bullpen.
Give him an inning.
That's put a hurting on him the last time they saw him. So Shearholtz the pinch hitter. He started the first game of the series, went 0 for 4. Shearholtz has not hit much as a Philly after coming over from the Giants in the trade for Hunter Pence.
Well, he grew up across the bay in Danville, and with the Giants all those years, sometimes that transition away from home, not only with your home team, but also where you live, can be tough. Had some injuries, too, since he's come over here.
By the way, if you're wondering about Cloyd and his pitch count, he's thrown as many as 107 pitches already for the Phillies.
Well, I was really impressed by him today. I mean, I know that he had the big lead, and you know it's hard to judge sometimes. But you know, we've seen him twice now, much better than the first time, and I can see why he was the International League most valuable pitcher.
And you know, sometimes guys struggle with big leads.
I agree, and everything was on the knees. He was impressive tonight.
Well, he went 12-1 in AAA this year, and now on the verge of his second big league win. One and 1 to Shearholtz, and Familia throws a changeup blowing away. 2-1. Very much a third pitch in progress for him. Jimmy Rollins would be next. And Shearholtz has a base hit. Franz into third. He'll stop there, and that's a record. 18 singles against the Mets. First time they have ever given up 18 singles in a game in their 51-year history. Too many records being set.
Yeah, the wrong way, though.
That's what I mean.
Good sinker away from Shearholtz. Nice, better job of hitting there. Ball was on the outside corner. He just went with it.
A night to remember, a night to forget.
Oh, man.
So now the base is loaded for Rollins. So a test here for Familia, who's given up 2 hits and a walk in the inning. Rollins 2 for 5 tonight. He's driven in a pair. A chance for some more. Dan Warthen going to call for a fresh arm to get ready.
Lucky this is September, right?
Another pitcher in the game here would set another record. That's never had 9 pitchers in a 9-inning game. 2-0 now to Rollins, but if you're ever going to do it in September when your starter doesn't get an out, that would be the time.
Well, Terry Collins has been pacing all night long. Dan Warthen next to him. I know when we're on the road and we'll get on the plane after a fine win for the Mets, I'll always say to Dan Warthen will always say to me, let's say it's a fine day to be the pitching coach. And I say, yeah, I agree. Tonight is not one of them.
2-0 to Rollins, and that's ball 3. And now Familia puts himself right in a corner. Rollins takes ball 4, and that'll force in another run. Rollins has his 3rd RBI of the night. 2nd walk in the inning by Familia, and it's 10-1 Philadelphia.
You know, just watching a Familia, Gary, what I notice is that once he gets behind 1-0, I think that he's cognizant of trying to throw strikes. So I see him try to drop it down a gear just to throw strikes. So what he's doing really is having 2 kind of approaches to throwing strikes to the plate, and sometimes neither is working, instead of maybe just having one approach and trying to repeat his mechanics.
Ramon Ramirez and Josh Edgin up in the Mets bullpen. Interesting to see Edgin, considering the Mets said today that he'll only get 1 more appearance. In any event, Juan Pierre the batter. Pierre is 4 for 5 tonight. And he takes inside as Familia continues to have trouble finding the strike zone. Kratz now at 3rd. Shearholtz at 2nd, and Rollins at 1st with 2 out. And a fastball strike, 1-1. Don't forget to keep it tuned right after the game tonight. Chris Carlin and Bobby Ojeda will have all the details, distasteful though they may be, on WB Mason postgame live right after the game, right here on SNY. 1-1 to Pierre, and he swings late on a fastball, and it's 1-2.
You know, the one thing with the bases loaded and watching Familia as he delivers the baseball, good fastball here. He has, when he stands on the mound, the rubber, he has a lot of movement, and he's going to have to watch that movement, because he's going to get someone with a guy's going to call a balk against him one time. He's going to have to really be still. And it's just, it's just nerves, and It's just, anxiety, and then trying to get an out here and all those kind of things. But, in a big moment, one of the umpires might have a trigger finger as he keeps moving his feet and his hands and his arms and moves his elbow, and those different things sometimes can trigger a balk call.
Pierre with a little tapper, and it curls back into fair territory. Familia throws, and they call him out, but he's safe because Duda dropped the ball, and a run scores. It's 11-1. I think he was safe anyway, but Tony Randazzo, I think, was trying to, shorten matters. But Juan Pierre has himself a 5-hit game.
And one of those plays that the ball, as it came out, took a funny bounce and bounced back into play. And by the time Familia got to it, of course, Pierre had his hit.
And they do score at a base hit. So Pierre has his 5th career 5-hit game, his first since 2005. And he was not only safe by a mile, but Duda didn't come close to catching that ball. 11-1 Phillies in the 9th. Pitching change for the Mets. We'll be right back. He leaves after 2/3 of an inning, and Josh Edgin makes what should be his final appearance of the year.
Last night's ball game, remember, it was the walk of Utley and then the home run by Howard. He's got another shot here against Chase.
This time with the bases loaded and 2 out. Utley already with a 4-hit night. And he takes below the knees for ball 1. Well, Juan Pierre already has a 5-hit game. How often does a team have a chance to have 2 players have 5 hits in the same 9-inning game? Scherholtz, Rollins, and Pierre, the base runners. The Mets setting a team record here. First time they've ever used 9 pitchers in a 9-inning game. I'm assuming this is going to be a 9-inning game. 1-1 to Utley. I could be wrong. Mets have already set a club record, giving up 19 singles in this game. By the way, the major league record for singles allowed in a game is 26. So they should be able to stave off that ignominious mark. 2-1 now to Utley. Utley's had 1 5-hit game in his career that came back in 2007. Now Edgin on 2-1 hits Utley with a pitch, and that forces in yet another run. Second time tonight that the Phillies have had a batter hit by a pitch to force in a run, and it's 12-1. And this could not get any uglier.
Well, given a second chance from last night, not even close. That ball's supposed to be down and away, and it's up and in the numbers to Utley. When we talk about him not moving, there's nothing he did there. That was hit him right between the 2 and the 6.
11th time this year Utley has been hit by a pitch. So now Ryan Howard, who hit the game-winning home run against Edgin last night, faces him with the bases loaded.
Well, I guess if you're going to get hit by a pitch, might as well get a RBI, as we're going to see a pinch runner here, Gary.
So that's what they're waiting for. Looks like Michael Martinez. So Martinez will come in to run for Utley and then play the last inning at second base.
And here a chance now. He had a second chance against Utley, who he walked last night. He hits him with a pitch. But more importantly, he's got to get this big man out. Last night did not, of course. Dramatic home run. Second chance. Now, different situation, of course. This game's out of hand. But still an opportunity for a young pitcher to see what sequence of pitches he can use to get out a dangerous hitter.
And also, Edgin well knows this is his last outing of the year. Matt Harvey turned it up a notch in his last outing of the season last night. See what Edgin can do for a finale. Falls behind on Howard, 2-0.
It's his last hitter of the year also. Mayberry up next.
You're saying the Mets may go to a 10th pitcher.
Well, if they're going to set a record, Gary, let's do it.
Might as well shatter it.
Right.
You know, Terry Collins has been stewing in that dugout since the first inning. And through this debacle of a second half here at home, he has held his tongue pretty well, but you wonder whether that might change tonight.
Yeah, he's formulating a little patent speech, it looks like to me. He's alone in the dugout. He doesn't want to be around anyone. He's collecting his thoughts.
And now it's 3-1. Well, the worst record in history after the All-Star break belonged to the Indians this year. But the Mets at 20-42 since the break. And even worse, of course, here at Citi Field. The worst home mark after the All-Star break ever. As Howard hits one in the air to deep left. Lewis going back near the wall, and it's out of here. An opposite field grand slam for Ryan Howard as he gets the best of Josh Edgin for the second straight night. And it's 16-1 Philadelphia. How much worse can it get? Number 12 for Howard, a 5 RBI night for him. And another crushing blow for Josh Edgin. in what should be his last outing of the year.
Well, we spent a lot of time in tonight's game talking about what Edgin wanted to do to make up for last night with Howard. Well, Howard had his own ideas.
So Edgin faces two hitters, hits Utley with a pitch to force in a run, gives up the grand slam to Howard, who has so much power the other way. So the Phillies, who scored 8 in the first, bookended with 7 in the ninth. Inning's not over yet. Mets will go to their 10th pitcher. We'll be right back. The Mets utilizing their 10th pitcher of the night as Ramon Ramirez comes in to try and get the final out on the top of the ninth.
Yeah, the 27th out by the bullpen in tonight's ball game.
16 runs and 21 hits for the Phillies tonight, and John Mayberry Jr. pops one up into shallow center, and Andres Torres comes on and grabs it, and that finally retires the side. Ryan Howard putting the capper on with an opposite field grand slam. 16-1 Phillies. base. Michael Martinez, who pinch ran, stays in at shortstop. Dominic Brown moves from right field to left field. Nate Scherholtz, who pinch hit, stays in the game in right. And B.J. Rosenberg will try and finish it up for the Phils.
Well, 13-round selection in the 2008 draft. Before this year, he had never pitched above the AA level, but here now in the big leagues. It's been a struggle so far, though, for B.J.
Impressive outing for Tyler Cloyd. 8 innings, 1 run, 3 hits, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts, in line for his second big league win. Fred Lewis will lead off for the Mets. Lewis getting his first start as a Met. He's drawn a walk and had a base hit. He's 1 for 2. It's the first time since 2007 that the Mets have given up as many as 20 hits in a game. The Phillies have 21 tonight. First time the Mets have ever used 10 pitchers in a 9-inning game. And I'm intrigued by the book-ending 8 in the first and 7 in the ninth. I wonder how often in big league history that's ever happened.
Yeah, you just don't see that. I mean, 1 run in between and the bookend 8 and 7. That's something.
Ronnie Cedeno on deck, then Andres Torres as Lewis jumps back 1 and 2. Well, the Mets will try and lick their wounds and get it back together tomorrow night with the Marlins coming to town. Miami has the night off tonight. The Mets, with a loss tonight, will be just a half game in front of the Marlins, trying to stay out of last place. So that adds a tiny bit of intrigue to that series. Mets and Marlins. John Neese against Jacob Turner tomorrow night at 6:30 right here on SNY. By the way, the Marlins are hoping to have Giancarlo Stanton back in the lineup. He's missed the last couple of games with a side injury.
Well, I'll tell you, the one thing about Stanton, you got to love when he's in the lineup, but he has already set a little precedent of having a lot of aches and pains that keep him out of the lineup.
Do you remember back in the 90s when the Giants still played in Candlestick Park? They, as a marketing ploy, because it was so uncomfortable to sit at Candlestick Park in the summertime because it was so cold, if fans made it all the way through an extra inning game, they would get this little pendant.
Yeah.
They called it the Quad to Candlestick.
Yeah.
You should figure out something like that to give to the folks who made it through 9 innings tonight.
Yes, you're right about that.
The Quad to City.
And they would always attach it to their giant cap and wear it to the games.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd see some older fans would have their entire cap filled with those pendants or pins.
A badge of honor, as it were. 8th pitch of the at-bat to Lewis, and he takes it inside. Lewis is on base for the 3rd time. Well, we talked about the fact he had a terrific on-base percentage in Buffalo this year, .379. And he has shown that off tonight, drawn a couple of walks and had a base hit. Final in D.C., the Nats beat the Dodgers 4-1, so that does 2 things. It reduces Washington's magic number to 8 for clinching the NL East, and it pushes the Dodgers 3 games behind the Cardinals in the wild card.
And Ross Detweiler has really fashioned himself a great season.
Now 10-6 on the year. Here's Cedeno up for the first time, and he takes a fastball strike. So that means the team closest to St. Louis now is Milwaukee. After their sweep of the Pirates, the Brewers have won 23 of 29. They're 2.5 behind St. Louis for that final playoff spot. 0-2 now to Cedeno with Torres on deck. And Rosenberg throwing heat, 97, and Cedeno able to foul it off.
Now this young man has a great arm, just still a thrower, not a pitcher yet. Although it can't be the easiest thing to do, sit down there and watch all these runs scored. Cloyd was on top of his game and come in and try to mop up
Cedeno hits one out to right, chasing Shearholt's back, and he's there to grab it. Lewis back to first, one away. Well, if the Mets don't score 3 runs here in the 9th inning, this will be 16 straight home games in which the Mets will have scored 3 runs or fewer, which would leave them just 2 shy of the Major League record set 97 years ago by the Yankees back in the dead ball era. Here's Torres up for the first time. Andres 1 for 7 in the series. And he fouls it back. Mike Nickius has come out on deck to be a pinch hitter with the pitcher due up next. There's Mike. One and two now to Torres. By the way, the 16 runs the Mets have given up tonight matches the most the Mets have given up in a home game, a 9-inning home game, since 1963. Of course, they gave up 26 in Philadelphia in that game in 85. But at home, they gave up 17 in a game in 62, again in 63. But since 63, 16 is the most they allowed. Now, remember, they gave up 16 in a game to the Braves, a game that Matt Franco wound up pitching and gave up a home run to Andrew Jones.
Extra innings, though?
No.
That was the one?
Right, so that matches that.
Oh, okay.
Right. A lot of ignominious statistics attached to this game and this stretch of games for the Mets, who will lose for the 25th time in their last 29 home games.
I mean, I don't have any answers, and I'm sure that if there were any answers, the people downstairs, Terry and his crew, would have tried to address it. But, you know, you have 7 more home games. Something's got to, switch has got to be turned on somewhere, somehow.
3-2 now to Torres, and he grounds a double play ball. This should end it. Or to Martinez, and that'll do it. The Phillies handing the Mets a thumping for the ages. An 8-run first, a 7-run ninth, and the Mets get thrashed by the Phillies, who sweep the series and hand the Mets their 9th straight home loss, 16-1.
Well, Jimmy Rollins, another couple of hits, 3 RBIs, 5 hits for Juan Pierre, 4 hits for Chase Utley, grand slam by Ryan Howard, as Hefner had no answers early, and the bullpen had no answers late.
Mets used a club record 10 pitchers in a 9-inning game. Jeremy Hefner failed to retire a batter tonight, and Ryan Howard put on the capper against Josh Edgin as he took him deep for the 2nd straight night for a grand slam. As you look at the City game summary, a huge first and an almost as big 9th for the Phillies, bookending a 16-1 win that pushes the Mets 17 games under 500, their lowest point of the season. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Citi, proud sponsor of the New York Mets. By AT&T, rethink possible. By your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers, visit them on the web at searchmercedes.com. By the New York Lottery. And by Honda, visit your Honda dealer right now for great deals. Only a Honda is a Honda. Final score tonight, Phillies 16 and the Mets 1. Tomorrow night, the Marlins come to town. John Neese against Jacob Turner. 6:30 the coverage right here on SNY. Now for Ron Darling, Kevin Burkhardt, and our entire SNY crew, I'm Gary Cohen at Citi Field. Time for WB Mason post-game live. Have a great time, Chris and Bobby. It's all yours now.